ठीक है बात पापा।
ये कर दे उस साइड से, ये ऊपर करना पड़ेगा ये। लाइट उस पर पड़ती है इसके, फर्क नहीं पड़ा।
ठीक है बात पापा।
ये कर दे उस साइड से, ये ऊपर करना पड़ेगा ये।
ठीक है पापा।
ठीक है, थोड़ी बहुत देर में आके ना संभाल लियो, लाइट उस पर पड़ती है इसके।
नमस्कार सर, रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Rama?
Fine, sir. Punya sir, welcome.
How are you doing?
Fine, sir.
नमस्कार 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 नमस्कार.
कैसे? Hi Anita, how are you?
नमस्कार सर, रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
Fine, sir.
I'm very fine.
Punya
Nice.
sir, welcome.
Thank you very much, Anita ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
नमस्कार 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 नमस्कार.
कैसे? Hi Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you, Rama? I'm very fine.
Punya
Nice.
sir, welcome.
Thank you very much, Anita ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
नमस्कार 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 नमस्कार.
कैसे? So lunch is over. Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you, Rama? I'm very fine.
Punya
Nice
sir,
journey.
welcome.
Thank you very much, Anita ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
नमस्कार 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 नमस्कार.
कैसे? So lunch is over. Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you, Rama? Namaskar. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Anita ji. Thank you.
Can you hear
Thank
me?
you, sir.
नमस्कार 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 नमस्कार.
So lunch is over. Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you, Rama? Namaskar. Can you hear me?
Think some problem is there.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
नमस्कार नमस्कार नमस्कार.
That's fine. So lunch is over. Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you, Rama? Namaskar. Can you hear me? Namaskar.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
नमस्कार नमस्कार नमस्कार.
That's fine. So lunch is over. Anita, how are you?
Sir, I am fine, sir. I am fine.
रणवीर सिंह सर, नमस्कार.
How are you, Anita?
Namaste, sir. Sir, I am fine.
How are you, Shastri Sahab?
हाँ नमस्कार सर रणबीर सिंह जी नमस्कार.
Are we starting?
नमस्कार पुनिया जी. आई एम फाइन सर थैंक यू.
नमस्कार शास्त्री साहब नमस्कार.
नमस्कार सर नमस्कार.
सर, प्रोफेसर तिवारी अभी ज्वाइन नहीं हुए हैं. मैं कह रही हूँ स्टार्ट कर देने के लिए सेशन.
I think we should not. We should start.
Okay, sir. We'll start. Yeah.
I am waiting for your order.
Sure, sir. Right now.
Once you tell me, I'll just start. You know.
Madam, shall we start the session?
Yes. Yeah, we should start the session.
Okay. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the technical session 1 on transforming the regulatory system of higher education. In chair, we have Professor Ranveer Singh, Vice Chancellor, NLU, Delhi. And we have 3 speakers, Professor Aditya Shastri, Vice Chancellor, Banastali Vidyapeeth, then Professor R.P. Tiwari, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Punjab, Bathinda, and Professor M.P. Punia, Vice Chairman, AICTE. So ladies and gentlemen, let me have the pleasure of introducing the chairperson, Professor Ranbir Singh has been the founder Vice Chancellor of Nalsar, University of Law, Hyderabad. He has also been the founder Vice Chancellor for NLU Delhi. Professor Singh has been a Vice Chancellor for almost 22 years, being one of the longest serving Vice Chancellors in the country. Professor Singh has been recently elected as the Governor of the Board, International Association of Law Schools, USA. He has been the chairperson of the Committee for Reforms in Criminal Laws constituted by the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. He is also member, Board of Management, International Association of Universities, Paris, Member Council, the Association of Commonwealth Universities, London, and also past president of the Association of Indian Universities and SICI. Professor Singh has more than 50 research publications to his credit. He has edited 2 publications and has co-authored 2 scholarly publications. Under his guidance, several scholars have been awarded PhD degrees. Besides, he has also been associated with prominent institutions in various advisory capacities. Professor Singh has been the recipient of many awards, including the Ambassador for Peace Award by Universal Peace Federation 2019, Lawyers of India Day Award 2018 by Bar Association of India, Symbiosis IALS Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Legal and Justice Education by International Association of Law Schools, USA, and Symbiosis University, Pune, and many more prestigious awards. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in the speakers quickly for you. We have Professor Aditya Shastri. He is currently the Vice Chancellor of Banasthali Vidyapeeth. He was the youngest ever to become the Vice Chancellor of an Indian university, and today he is also one of the senior most amongst the fraternity. Dr. Shastri completed his MSc Tech in Computer Science and MSc Honors Mathematics from BITS Pilani, after which he moved to USA for further studies. He received his doctorate from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. After serving the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research for 1 year, he moved to Banasthali, where he has remained ever since. He has held several visiting appointments in the UK, France, and Japan. Most notably, he was selected as Marie Curie Fellow by DST. He was also a Royal Society Exchange Visitor to the University of Nottingham in 1993 and a research staff member at IBM India Research Lab. He has published over 50 research papers and has authored 5 textbooks. His research interests include discrete mathematics, combinatorics, and graph theory, theory of computation, algorithms, e-commerce, and mobile computing. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we also have Dr. Raghavendra P. Tiwari, and he's the Vice Chancellor of Central University of Punjab in Batinda. A distinguished academician, Tiwari did his PhD in geology from Gauhati University. He specializes in earth sciences, including paleontology and seismology. He is engaged in research in paleobiology. He held key positions in other reputed universities in India. He served as Dean in School of Earth Sciences and Natural Resource Management and Head Department of Geology, Mizoram University. Dr. Tiwari has got 80 research papers published and edited 2 books. He is also involved in various research projects and till date completed 8 projects successfully. Dr. Tiwari was conferred with L. Ramarao Birth Centenary Award of the Geological Society of India for significant contribution to Indian stratigraphy and paleontology. Ladies and gentlemen, I will bring in the 3rd speaker for you, Dr. M.P. Punya. He is specialized in the field of mechanical engineering, renewable energy, and sustainable development. He has done his MTech and PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He possesses a vast experience of 30 years. He has published more than 90 research papers in national and international journals and conferences and published 10 books and developed 2 lab manuals. He has guided a number of MTech and PhD dissertations. Dr. Punya is a member of ISTE and Society of Automotive Engineers. Dr. Punya is presently serving as Vice Chairman, All India Council for Technical Education since 2017. Dr. Punya is the recipient of Bharat Mata Award conferred by Indian Institute of Oriental Heritage on 16th August 2014. On behalf of NITTTR, Chandigarh, he received National Award for the Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities 2013 by the Honorable President of India on 3rd December 2013 in New Delhi in recognition of outstanding performance in the field of best institution for empowerment of persons with disabilities in the country. He visited many countries like USA, China, Canada, Thailand, UK, Singapore, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, and Australia. Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Over to Professor Ranveer Singh to take the session forward.
Thank you, Sushma. Thank you very much for
Thank you, sir.
much of my work has been made simpler. I thought I will be introducing the speakers. I see Dr. Pankaj Mittal, the Secretary General of the AIU, Rama, and other friends from Geetam, especially Anita Rao. And it is wonderful to be with you and to be a part of the technical session too, where the speakers have already been introduced. I will not take much time in the beginning. I would chip in the end, basically. So we have almost 1 hour and 30 minutes. Probably, I think we can devote about 1 hour for the speakers. And without wasting any time, we started slightly late. We will start with Professor Nitya Sastry. Maybe you can come across your views about 15, 20 minutes. And Professor Sastry would be not available after he speaks to us because he has to attend a very important engagement immediately after this session. So we'll give him leave of absence for this session. So the other two speakers will be available with us. Professor Tiwari will be joining us very soon, and also Dr. Punia would be with us. Dr. Tiwari has also joined us. Welcome, sir.
I have already joined. Namaskar, Sakku. I have already joined.
How are you? How are you?
Yeah,
So
fine,
we without any waste of time, we start with the Professor Sastry. Now the floor is yours for about 15-20 minutes. You can share your views with the learned panel and also other present on the occasion. Please.
Well, first of all, very warm greetings again to all my distinguished colleagues and friends. I'm very grateful to Professor Ranveer Singh ji for being so generous and understanding my situation. And thanks for Sushma ji for digging an ancient CV of mine and introducing me so elaborately in the introduction. Let me quickly come to the point that we are discussing here, that the regulatory mechanism and how we can reform it is always a point of contention, and there is always a balancing act that we have to perform. I think I have been part of a discussion a while ago, about a month back, and then somebody made a remark that one of the things we inherited from our past legacy of the Raj is the seeking permission and giving permission became a very important activity and consumed a lot of time and effort, and a lot of time and attention was paid to this activity. Seek permission for the plants and set up a company, to start an activity, to initiate a course, whatever. And giving permission was the most sought after, most sort of valuable, most satisfying activity. And to be able to obtain permission should give one a very great deal of satisfaction. And this remark was made in the context that perhaps there is a need to reduce this, because all this leads to somewhat of an unproductive activity to a large extent. Now, Indian higher education system has come of age, as we all know. Most of us have witnessed it. There were hardly a handful of institutions of higher learning when we gained independence. And the count almost increases by the minute. And we have been in round figures saying that there are 1,000 universities as of now. But that 1,000 figures in my estimation has crossed 1,100, 1,200 easily. And hardly a day passes when you don't encounter a university you have never heard of. And our gross enrollment, which just before our eyes 2 decades back, used to hover around 7, 8, 9%, has touched 25, 27, 26%, 28%. And it is estimated to cross 30% very quickly. And the big ambition was that it will reach 50% in not too distant future. So when the big plan is to expand higher education so rapidly, quite obviously, the expansion cannot be a very mindless expansion. Some kind of a quality assurance or quality control has to be exercised by some people somewhere. So now the whole idea is that where do we strike the balance? So either we go along and we work with the very rigid, strict license permit Raj, as I originally shared with you, one of the feelings expressed by one of the experts in one of the meetings, or we totally deregulate it and we say, okay, market forces will govern it, and we cannot assume that consumer is totally uninformed. And by the way, students and parents are quite informed these days. There are quite a famous educational institutions. They advertise in a very big manner. But I think people by and large know that which institution has what specialty, what they are good for, and so on and so forth. So the real question is striking the right balance between these two extreme ends. And I think over the past few years, we are seeing some very welcome trends in this direction. I think NAC has done a very wonderful job, though NAC is not a regulatory mechanism in the sense, but in a very broad umbrella of quality assurance. That almost 75 to 80% of the evaluation happens based on the data submitted by you online. So it's a very objective, and only 25% of the evaluation happens subjectively, depending on what is the educational ideology you have, what is the special character of the institution you have. And I think our esteemed colleague Punia ji is sitting here. I think AICTE has taken the lead, and now all the data you submit it online, and sort of eligibility to operate, the necessary condition is checked through the system, and that saves a lot of hassles of committee visits and subjectivity and so on and so forth. So I think this is already been happening, that we are on way to striking a middle ground already, and AICTE is leading the way in that direction. Now, another one point I would like to bring in this context, that ultimately any kind of regulation that you want to do, one has to absolutely understand that what is the objective of education on the whole, what you can assess, what you can regulate, and perhaps we must admit honestly that what we cannot regulate. I often in meetings explain in very simplistic terms that every structure rests on 4 pillars. If buildings, has 4 columns at the 4 corners, and a table has a 4 pillars, and so on and so forth. Now, educational system broadly must comprise of 4 pillars on which it rests. And we often say, well, teaching and research has to go hand in hand because they complement each other. There are 2 sides of the same coin and so on and so forth. If you only do teaching, it is no good. If you only do research, it is no good. So I think that defines 2 pillars. And if an institution does only teaching, that means it is resting on only 1 pillar. So I think structure requires 4 pillars. And if you are hanging on 1 pillar, you are very, very unstable structure. So that is agreed. A educational institution, or particularly university, for being worth its salt, has to have a teaching as well as research potential to be an educational institution of certain quality. Then second thing which is often said is, well, universities are situated in a there are societal organizations, they cannot sit in ivory towers. They have to relate with the society. They have to relate with the community. So the community engagement or extension or whatever you may call it, they cannot be just cut off from the environment entirely. And often an example is given that some institutions, they are very great institutions, but the moment you step out of the boundary of the institution, as if it appears that you are, the environment is totally unaffected by the superlative quality of the organization. So the community engagement or extension is the 3rd pillar. And now I'm coming to these other 2 pillars, which somehow are totally ignored from any kind of regulatory process or any kind of quality assurance. And even if it is given some due importance somewhere, so, okay, if any institution does these 3 things, now what is the 4th pillar? 4th pillar is ultimately the purpose of education is to build a human man, the character of a human being and his personality and character. And I think that is the biggest misfortune of our education system, that this is not even in the dialogue, not even in the context, not even in the discuss, let alone this aspect be part of any regulatory process or be of any quality assurance mechanism. So if any institution is totally oblivion to what I consider is the most important responsibility of educational institutions, that means even though how significantly you might be contributing about the other 3 parameters, you are still a structure resting on 3 pillars, and there will be some imbalance in what you are doing. So I think this value inculcation and character building, the 4th and most important key pillar, which are missing from our discourse, and therefore it is missing from our entire regulatory procedures and our quality assuring mechanisms. So therefore, what I would like to propose, that whatever regulatory regime that we have, we should try to include some amount of balanced proportion of all these 4 important components, which I feel make of a very comprehensive, complex system that a university is. Now, if you come to the operational procedures, I think this wonderful initiative which AICT has taken, that it is completely online data submission and it is done that way. But this is, like your eligibility or your license to operate in some way, the initial thing. Now they have a very broad system of approvals and procedures. And they are the very basic and they are the right assumptions, because in order to run some particular course, you require laboratories of this nature, you require faculty of this nature, you require library of certain type. And if you don't even have that, it is well taken that the quality of the academic aspect of education will suffer. Other aspect, let us leave aside for the moment. But sometimes what happens is that these parameters become some kind of a very universal absolute, as if they have come from somewhere up above heaven. So suppose if you need a computer lab worth, let's say 800 square feet or 1000 square feet, and for lo and behold, if you only have 980 square feet, you might have committed the biggest crime on the earth, and maybe you are not good enough to run that particular course. But I think that argument needs to mature, and some totality has to be brought into that argument. Well understood that your computer lab is slightly less than what was desired, but overall, since you are an institution which has very rich in terms of faculty, very rich in terms of your other culture, tradition, this, that, then it is okay. And in fact, through in some other institution with some other regulatory mechanism, I heard a very curious instance that some sensitivity about physically challenged people has come, which is very good. I firmly believe this, that we have a reservation 3% for physically challenged people, and somebody who is on a wheelchair. So I think ramps should be there in every building. I think this is the new norm. But I think if you are a very old institution, you have a heritage building, and somehow if that provision is not very easily amenable, and if that ramp cannot be built into some way, then just to say that you are not good enough to run XYZ course, I think that is stretching a bit argument a bit too far. So in terms of my personal view, my suggestion would be, just like a person sits in an exam, you get certain marks in one paper, or certain less marks in another paper, more marks in another paper. So we could have a grading mechanism that, you do very well faculty-wise, you do very well laboratory-wise, you may have some deficiency, etc., etc. And we could have a minimum eligibility defining score, that if you have above that score, then you are fit enough. Otherwise, you don't, because you can't have that absolute. We had a classical system. I'm just winding up in 2 minutes. We have the classical system in which there is a minimum pass marks for every paper, and you have to pass. And if you fail in one paper, that means you have to repeat the whole year. But now the concept has come, it is pass by paper, that if you fail in one paper, then you repeat it. And the grade point average is, even if you have a D or E grade in one paper, your scorecard tells you that you are weak in one subject, but overall your grade point average is very high. So I think if it is a very friendly approach is adopted by regulatory mechanism, and a overall totality is brought into evaluation, that will be a very thing with online thing. So I think we are on its way, led by the wonderful initiatives by AICTE of this wonderful software of theirs, which captures all the data and instantaneously it tells you what it is. But the evaluation mechanism, in my humble opinion, if it could be brought in, I think that would smoothen the system out, and that will improve the very well. And I think that would bring the right balance. It would not be an absolute free for all everything, but it would not put a very stringent regulatory license permit Raj kind of a strict regulation on the institution applying for. And I think all in all, that is good for the system. That is what I feel. Now, thank you again very much. I thank AIU for choosing this very pertinent topic. Thanks to the President AIU, Chairman, and Ramaji has been very active. She has been sending me notices and concept paper and very, very active. And since morning, reminding me that you have read it and are you ready for the seminar? And making sure that I don't miss it out, I am here. And thank you very much. I'm delighted being part of this. I will be here for some more time, but as Professor Ranbir Singh ji has been kind enough to permit me to leave for some other selection committee which is going on in my campus. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sastry. Thank you very much. And thank you for providing such a wide landscape of reforms in your discussion. For me, if I have to be honest with myself, the role of UGC I found was very laudable. I have seen the working of UGC for a very, very long time. It has been, of course, a regulatory body, but it has been facilitating the role of the universities. It has been providing finances, and my interaction with the UGC for such a long time, as somebody mentioned, more than 2 decades as Vice Chancellor, I never find the fences and barricades at the level of the UGC. So this I am mentioning with a purpose. And I am mentioning it because when we say that we are getting into a different kind of a regulatory body, are we meaning to say change? And for me, as a law person, change is not certainly reform. If these 3 verticals, which the national education policy is probably trying to enforce in the country, and of course, the objective is that it will further facilitate the working of the universities, provide them further autonomy, and open gates of excellence. So I would certainly be happy if all these reforms would not be simply change, but reforms in the real sense of the term. Wonderful for your very, very wide landscape, and you covered a very wide area of discussion, which we is going to follow. Probably you have one question.
Sir, with your permission, may I add one more sentence to what you said? Sir, I entirely endorse your views. I am very, very happy with UGC. They are more of a facilitator. And there's one incidence, when we regulate, our prime focus is on quality institution and how they become better, or on the other end of the spectrum. As a graduate student, I went to US and we teach the undergraduates, and we found that few students were cheating. Somebody else was giving the exam for some money, and I could not imagine it could happen in US. So I complained to the instructor in charge. He said, okay, I'll complain to the dean. So I went to him 3 times. He said, Aditya, don't lose your blood. I'm not interested in those 2-3 cheaters. I'm interested on the other 675, how much they have done. So I think the focus should be not on the mischievous people, but on the quality institution, how they can come up. So I think that will bring the balance. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya Sastry. Thank you very much. We have the next speaker, who is a very, very experienced person in the field of education, Professor R.P. Tiwari, sir. I have some very important things in my mind. For me, reforms, as I mentioned, would mean that how do we produce a generation of students, those who are technically sound, professionally competent, and socially relevant. And for me, third factor is very, very important when I say socially relevant, that if education will not have a social impact on the society which we come from, we have to look at the future of universities, future of education of all kinds, then the purpose of education is certainly not achieved. So in that sense, probably if the reforms would address these issues, that we produce a generation of people, those who are in that sense, as I said, not only technically sound and professionally competent, but socially relevant. Socially relevant means they are not only that they are skilled, but they are good human beings, and promote fundamental rights, promote human rights, and bring in issues of freedom, and ensure a kind of environment where what we provided in the Constitution is actualized. So I pass on to you for your comments as far as this session is concerned. Over to you, please. So you can take about 15 to 20 minutes. Your time starts now.
Yeah. Now I'm sorry. In fact, I was muted from that side, therefore I could not start.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Good afternoon to everyone. Professor Ranveer Singh, Professor Punia, Sastry, and all those who have joined this wonderful platform to discuss about the scenario of higher education, regulatory regime, and other plethora of items that are envisaged in our NEP 2020. When the 21st century was about to start, UNESCO constituted a committee to work out roadmap for education that will meet the requirement of 21st century youth. And there, four pillars of education are defined. Number one is learning to know. Number two, learning to do. Number three, learning to be. And number four is learning to live together. Learning to live together essentially is a recapitulation of our age-old concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and also Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya. Now this, these four pillars poses a question to me. I mean, to meet these very objectives of learning system, education, what should we teach, number one? Who to teach, number two? What to teach, number three? How to teach, number four? And how to evaluate. Of course, Professor Ranveer Singh has very rightly pointed out that it is not only, education is not only to produce employable youth or produce youth who would be innovative, who will create job rather than seek job. But, this is also a very important component. So, and then, learning to do and learning to be. If we further define this, means what concept we learn, we should practice that. That is experiential learning. And number three is whatever, we do, we apply it for the welfare of the learner himself, herself, for the welfare of the society and for the welfare of the nation. So it is in this broad context and the purpose of education that we need to see the proposed regulatory regime in NEP 2020. We all know four pillars, and these four verticals, these will work under the broad umbrella of HECI. HECI bill is much talked about, and there is a rumor that it will be introduced in the current session of Parliament. We do not know what it will be actually, and what would be the composition of these verticals. What would be the percentage of educationists and bureaucrats in these verticals and all. And we see in the fourth vertical, which is General Education Council, the mandate of this is standard setting. And, it is envisioned that General Education Council will provide framework for graduate attributes. As Professor Ranveer Singh has said, UGC has taken several initiatives. One of the initiatives is learning outcome-based curriculum framework. For the last two and a half years, University Grants Commission has been working very hard, and now for about more than 2 dozens of undergraduate programs, subjects, learning outcomes have already been notified by University Grants Commission. These are available in that one. This has been, very landmark development in the higher education scenario of the country, because this will give, students will be able to take informed decisions through this. And there is further elaboration of this in NEP 2020, that GEC will frame graduate attributes. In Western countries, this is called graduate attributes. We call it here learning outcomes. This is very essential, because when we say that the youth that come out of our learning system of the country, there is huge skill deficit between we produce in them and what is required in the job market. That is the main drawback that we talk about this. So therefore, in order to meet this, if we define learning outcomes not only program wise but also the course wise, and here what I would like to submit is that it should not be the same learning outcome for all the universities. Every university should be given freedom to devise their own learning outcomes or graduate attributes, and students then will be able to compare. For example, MSc Biochemistry course in JNU, in Banaras Hindu University, in my Central University of Punjab, or any other university, students should be able to compare where they have the best learning outcomes, where they will get the best knowledge, the best skill, and best training of minds. So universities should be given free hand to decide their own graduate attributes, learning outcomes, and so that students are able to take informed choices, and then they take they register themselves for the program and the course. So this, this is very important. Now, this is the beginning of the quality education, because when we define graduate attributes, then our course content has to match with what objective we have set for each program, for each course. So, then the upgradation of syllabi will take place. The third important thing here is pedagogy. And, the emphasis here is that we should have experiential learning, and we should not only teach certain modules, learning modules to the students, but also we should, train their mind as to how to learn. The emphasis is this, and this has been missing from the learning system of India since we adopted Macaulay system of education. Prior to that, in Gurukuls, it was all holistic, multidisciplinary education, and also, skillful education, where 62 skills were taught in the Gurukuls. And now it is reinformation of what we have been doing, the learning system that we had in ancient India. It is, in my opinion, it is recapitulation of those paradigms, those attributes that were present and that produced, that offered the best quality education that time, not only to India, but also the whole world. So this, these regulatory reforms have to be viewed in this. You see, another problem that GSC will face is that today, the students which are entering the learning system of our nation today, and they will be job ready after 20 years, 22 years, 25 years. And what would be the job profile that time? What they would be expected to do that time? We do not know. Therefore, simply teaching them certain course content will not help. So here, this emphasizes further on training our minds to learn. So, the entire pedagogical approach has to be based on this, that we do not only, feed them with certain set of informations and which go rotten in their mind, but the informations as in ancient India, there used to be 6 types of gurus specialized for each type of, education, like information provider, like, and the same thing was in fact recapitulated by Bloom's in Bloom's taxonomy, where he defined 6 levels of education, and the last one was creation of knowledge, that is the ultimate level. So this also is important when we talk about, and the regulatory system, new regulatory system that is there, whether this will meet these challenging tasks of the current and relevant education system. So this will further do that. The other thing, other important paradigm of this NEP 2020 is, enhancing the learning options to the learners. There are multiple efforts made in this NEP 2020 to enhance the learning options, learning pathways of the learners. And one is general education, one is academic bank of credit. So how this would be regulated in a country like ours, in where we have diverse setup of educational institutes. So this regulatory regime should be able to fully implement flawlessly the academic bank of credit, because this is wonderful idea, though it is not new concept. In countries like Korea and all, this is being practiced for the last 20 years or so. In our country, it is coming for the first time. So this will provide learning options, manifold learning options to our learners. So this, and in the present regulatory framework that is proposed in NEP 2020, there's no talk about which vertical will take care of GEC. So this is, in my opinion, this is very important, because the students can maybe register for a program in one university, but courses they can pursue online courses. Now, another thing is that which agency, which vertical will take care of integration of technology, use and integration of technology with education, because as Professor Ranveer Singh was talking about, now AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning tools, big data analytics, all these, latest in ICT had to be embedded in the current education system and use of technology, massive use of technology is essential. So, all these, issues, which vertical will take care, this is not very clear. Maybe as the things progress, and as now, the Minister of Education is engaged in working out implementation plan under 9 areas. All these reforms have been grouped into 9 areas, and 9 experts groups have been constituted, and the draft recommendation of these experts groups has already been submitted to the Minister of Education. So, there are all, ingredients present in our, in NEP 2020 to make our education system at par with the world. But my worry is not this. All these reforms that are there in NEP 2020, these reforms are already in practice in Western countries. The massive difference is that we also talk about character building. We also talk about total personality development, Vyaktittva Vikas, Sampurna Vyaktittva Vikas. These elements are there. These have been very clearly defined, and also the roadmap is shown in NEP 2020 as to how to achieve this. But by and large, all these reforms are already in practice. Now, this NEP 2020 says that all these reforms will be introduced, completely introduced by 2035. That means 15 years down the line. And by that time, learning system will evolve, emerge, new things will come with massive use of ICT. So, if we do not really implement in a faster way, number one, and number two, what changes are coming, what disruptive technologies are coming, if we do not embrace them, then after 2035, again, we will be left behind, maybe decades or 2 from the Western education system. So this, there's very big task before the Ministry of Education and the new regulatory regime that will be implemented to make always our learning system ahead of the Western learning system, then only we can meet our very tall claim of making India as Vishwaguru in the field of education again. So this is there. Now, the accreditation, much has been talked about. The entire accreditation system has to be revamped. And those criteria which are really current, which sync with the NEP 2020, those are to be included, like placement, like employment, like innovation, like startup, like patents, like how many solutions for the local and regional issues, whether universities are able to solve the local and regional problems, vocal for local. These should be now the main criteria of accreditation. And of course, also in social science, humanities, and languages, how these NGOs have been formed to tackle the social issues and all. So the entire paradigm, which is in sync with NEP 2020, accreditation has to be done. Accordingly, funding mechanism, which one vertical we look after, these also has to sync, has to be in consonance with these. So really, that is in order to promote the quality education, quality research. Of course, there is National Research Foundation, which will take care of, the quality research which is relevant, research which is able to create wealth. So this is another wonderful idea. And the implementation of language, that is going to be a Herculean task, because there are so many languages. And how we'll ensure education in mother tongue up to class 5. So for that, of course, there is a provision to set up Indian Institute of Translation. So this will take, but all this, implementing complete paradigm. These regulatory bodies, 4 verticals and HECI, had to work overnight to really, come out with the plan, so that all these, paradigms are implemented in a much faster way than envisaged in NEP 2020. Another thing I would like to point out is that, there are certain, ministries in India which are headed by educationists. For example, Department of Science and Technology, secretary is always a scientist. DBT, Department of Biotechnology, secretary is always scientist. Minister of Earth Sciences, secretary is always scientist. Can we think of having education secretary in the Ministry of Education as a prominent academician, and the education system is really managed and looked after by this, and in the proposed regulatory regime, 4 verticals and HECI also, in fact, it should be the teachers who should be managing the affairs of these, the another problem that I like to say is that, and this is not difficult, because if we see pre-independence, or before the onset of Macaulay education, what we see is that everything was managed by teachers, gurus, whether it is education, whether it is subject combination, whether it is skill to be taught, financing, and the place, everything, and accreditation, everything was managed by the teachers, because everything was what we call it समाज पोषित. सरकारी व्यवस्था कुछ भी नहीं थी, सब समाज पोषित व्यवस्था थी, चाहे एक्रीडिटेशन की हो, चाहे फंडिंग की हो, चाहे रेगुलेशन की हो, किसी भी चीज की, सब समाज पोषित व्यवस्था थी. और गुरुकुल ही पूरे इंडिपेंडेंट थे हर एक तरह के डिसीजन लेने के लिए. जब से सरकार पोषित व्यवस्था हुई, तब से हमारी GER भी कम हुआ, हमारा एम्प्लॉयमेंट, जो स्किल्स जो इम्पार्ट होती थी, 64 स्किल जो पढ़ाई जाती थी गुरुकुलों में, वो भी बीच में समाप्त हो गई. अभी हम पिछले कुछ वर्षों से स्किल डिपार्टमेंट, जो एक समाज ही हम युवाओं को स्किलफुल बनाता था ऑटोमेटिकली, जनरेशन आफ्टर जनरेशन, उसको हमने नष्ट कर दिया. और अभी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्किल डेवलपमेंट हम बना रहे हैं सरकारी पैसे से, जो कि समाज हमारे यहाँ ये काम करता था. तो इन सब चीजों को हमें देखना है, हमारी कोर स्ट्रेंथ क्या है हमारे देश की, और उस कोर स्ट्रेंथ को हम कैसे पुनर्स्थापित कर सकते हैं. इस तरह का रेगुलेटरी रिजीम, हम क्यों ना सोचें कि जो रूरल स्किल अभी भी मौजूद है, उसको हम वैलिडेशन का, उसका सर्टिफिकेशन का, उसके एक्रेडिटेशन का क्या अरेंजमेंट कर सकते हैं। तो यदि हम इस तरीके से करेंगे, हमारी रूरल स्किल जिसकी बहुत ज्यादा आज आवश्यकता है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए स्किल होना बहुत जरूरी है, और वो स्किल अभी भी गांवों में तरह तरह की जितने भी लाइफ स्किल्स हैं सब अभी भी उपलब्ध हैं, उनको हमें रिवाइव करना चाहिए। और वो रिवाइव तभी होंगे जब हम उनको रिकॉग्निशन देंगे, सर्टिफिकेशन का अरेंजमेंट करेंगे। तो रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज को, हमारे जितने भी हैं, इनको ये भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि हम कैसे अपनी रूरल स्किल्स को, अपनी ट्रेडिशनल स्किल को रिवाइव करें और अपने यूथ को स्किलफुल बनाएं। इसमें हमें बहुत ज़्यादा विचार करने की आवश्यकता है। दूसरा, ये एक जो रेगुलेशन से नहीं होगा, हमारे यहाँ जैसे प्राचीन काल में गुरु अपने टीचिंग को एक प्रोफेशन नहीं मानते थे, मिशन मानते थे, मिशनरी जील से वो काम करते थे, अपना 24 घंटे देते थे। तो मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि NEP 2020 इज रियली अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर अस, द टीचिंग कम्युनिटी ऑफ इंडिया, टू रीएस्टेब्लिश देमसेल्फ, टू प्रूव दैट they were the guardian of education, and they conducted and they produced the best education system, best education model in the world in ancient India, and we can do it. And we have shown exemplified efforts. When pandemic, the institutions were locked down all of a sudden, and even the teachers from traditional universities which didn't have any knowledge of use of ICT in education, no online education, they never practiced, but they did it. And whatever survey says that it is around 50% successful, it is because of digital divide, not because of the teachers. So teachers have resilient to accept any change, implement any change. We are determined to implement all, and we are determined to produce youth which have global competency. They can compete with anywhere in the world. Then it is the teacher who will really implement this. The regulation has to be facilitative. It should not be restrictive. Of course, in several areas, they are facilitative even now, but there are certain areas where they are restrictive in nature. And so there should be, autonomy. Now, another thing I would like to point out, recently, there is notification from Ministry of Education that the sanctioning authority of post, teaching and non-teaching, is no more UGC. We are going to implement NEP 2020. And just on the onset of that, there is notification that, which has been the actual mandate of UGC, sanctioning post, grants. Now this power of UGC has been taken away. So, this should not be the case. Otherwise, how, this NEP 2020 can be, now everything will be done by Ministry of Expenditure. So things like this, there should not be regressive effort, decisions taken, which actually mar the implementation of NEP 2020. So with these few words, I would like to thank Secretary General AIU, Pankaj Mittal, for giving me a chance to speak, and I would like to thank everyone who have very patiently listened to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tiwari. We have one more speaker, Professor MP Punia, Vice Chairman ICT New Delhi. And when his speech is over, after that I would like to express some speakers first and have some feedback on certain issues from both vertical education. Then we wait for this whatever time we have. I can say you ensure that these three verticals of higher education which we are contemplating for reform would address the issue of commodification of the education, how it would affect the massification of education, how it address the issues of access to education, how it address the issues of equity in this country, how it will ensure quality. Of late, when I go to foreign jurisdictions to attend the conferences, seminars, or now for the last 1 year when we are on webinar, there is a fashion in most of the countries. They say education is market. And I feel very, very disturbed when they address education as market. And if marketization of the education, probably the very purpose for which the education is imparted to students is lost. So when we wind up the discussion, probably we would certainly like to address these issues. And my expectation from Professor MP Punia is that in a vast country like India, where we have digital divide, we have a knowledge divide, we have demographic divide, whether these so-called forms concern. To Professor MP Punia for your views.
Thank you very much, sir, Chairman Sir. It's a great opportunity for me to interact with very, very prominent academicians of the country. First of all, very, very relevant statement from your side that students who are coming out from our institutes, from our universities, our academic institutes, they should be technically sound, they should be professionally competent, and finally, they should be socially relevant. Those type of products, in fact, we like to have, and that these are the graduate attributes, in fact, which Professor R.P. Tiwari was speaking. The challenge which we people are saying, first of all, the challenge is particularly in technical education, sir, we are under criticism every time because it's a very, very costly affair also for the students, for the parents. The students are coming for 4 years in our technical education after class 12th. And at present in our country, in technical education, when I'm saying technical education, it is engineering and technology, it is management, it is pharmacy, it is architecture, it is hotel management, arts and crafts, everything. If I'm combining all together, every year we can accommodate around 3.2 million students in our technical education system. Every year I'm saying new students can enter into our technical education system. And in this technical education system, our IITs, our NITs, even the universities which are running these technical programs, I'm not connecting those data. In fact, those students who are entering into, because universities are not under our purview. IITs and NITs are self-regulatory, they are autonomous, they are not under our purview. The affiliated colleges in the country who are imparting this technical education, they can accommodate around 32 lakh students every year. Probably it is more than the population of Singapore. But the challenge is the infrastructure which we people have created, and that is hard infrastructure, good laboratories, good library, good hostel facilities, classrooms, everything is available. And the access and equity which we are saying that our gross enrollment ratio is only 26%. Meaning of this one is, suppose 100 students have passed 12th examination. Out of those 100 students, only 26 are getting opportunity to enter into higher education, total higher education, which is being regulated by UGC, by AICT or Medical Council of India or NCT, whatever it may be. Only 26 students out of 100 we are able to accommodate in our higher education system. About 74, we don't know where they have gone. Whereas dream in our national education policy is that this gross enrollment ratio in time to come, it has to be 50%. 50% students who are dreaming to enter into higher education, they should get the opportunity into this one. In US, this percentage is around 87%. In Japan, more than 50%. UK, more than 70%. Our neighbor China, more than 50%. Ours is only 27%. So one side, the gross enrollment ratio, access equity is the issue. Another side, the infrastructure which we people have created in the country for imparting this higher and technical education, we are unable to fetch students. We are unable to attract students. Against those 32 lakh seats which are available in our technical education, we are able to attract only 18 lakh students every year. Roughly 40% infrastructure, hard infrastructure which has been created in the country, that infrastructure is unutilized. We are unable to use that one. So one side, this gross enrollment ratio is the issue. Another side, the infrastructure which is available, it is unutilized. And one reason of that one is probably we teachers couldn't create interest inside the classes. Even probably parents are forcing to their children that do enter into technical education, but inside the classes, probably we couldn't deliver according to their needs, the curriculum which we are having, or the teaching learning processes which we are having, or the acceptance of the graduate, the three dimensions which you mentioned, sir. that is technically sound, the competencies should be professional competencies and social relevant. Probably we couldn't produce those type of students, and interest inside the classes we couldn't create. So out of those 18 lakh students who have taken admission, actually students who are graduating every year, that number is around 13 lakhs. So capacity is 32 lakhs. Actually students admitted, it is 18 lakhs. Actually students who are graduating every year, that is 13 lakhs. And the acceptance of the society through industries in higher education, higher research institutes, or for startup or entrepreneurship, the number of students actually who are getting the acceptance, that is 7 lakhs only. So capacity is 32 lakhs, entry is 18 lakhs, the graduation is 13 lakhs, but actual acceptance is 7 lakhs. It is a very, very serious issue. In fact, we are saying our young nation, 50% population is less than 25 years, and those sort of demographic dividend we are having. But what will be doing with this one? If they are not socially relevant, what will be doing with this one? They are just like human beings. If you are unable to create them, if you are unable to reform them into human resource, till that time there is no use of this one. So whatever mechanism we are bringing, or whatever mechanism we are having, first of all, seriously we'll have to think that how this young generation, huge young population, which we are having. Probably we are 1/6 in the world as far as population is concerned. World's population is 7 billion. Out of that one, we are 1.35. 7 divided by 1.35, when I'm doing, the figure which you are receiving, it is less than 6. Means every 6th person on this globe is an Indian. And we want our values, our sanskaras, our traditions, our team building capabilities, our competencies. It should be in such a way that anywhere our graduates should be able to go, they should be able to compete, they should be able to deliver. And in lieu of that one, this young population, if they can bring dollars for this country, then country can grow. The dreams which you are having that our economy will be $5 trillion. It will be only if this young population is getting serious orientation, if serious demand they are having, then probably they'll be able to produce. So the foremost challenge is quality in our education. The 5 pillars which are being said in our national education policy, that is access, equity, affordability, quality, and accountability. So if that quality is not there, the acceptance is not there, the three outcomes which you are expecting, if it is not there, no acceptance will be there. And that's the quality. In fact, the learning outcomes which are for the betterment of the society, if those learning outcomes are not getting attained by attainment of that one is not by the students, then certainly acceptance won't be. What society will be getting benefit from that one? So whatever mechanism we are bringing, sir, whatever regulatory mechanism which we are bringing, maybe General Education Council or Higher Education Regulatory Council or funding agencies or accreditation, everywhere we'll have to think that how this young generation can be oriented so that their acceptance, their relevance in this society, it has to be very, very strong. It has to be. As Professor R.P. Tiwari was here, just some time back, sir, 1 month back, we have gone for this Institute of Eminence visit. Professor Tiwari was with me. We have gone to Geo University in Mumbai. It is a coming, means in future probably it may be leading throughout the globe. That type of university it is growing, and we have gone there to visit that university. When we enter into the reception of that one, even the type of infrastructure which they are creating, vision which they are having, and some 2 programs they are starting one is artificial intelligence, second one is digital marketing. Just when we have entered, on the front in the reception, big boards were there. Immediately what contents they'll be covering in that digital marketing and artificial intelligence, and what will be the learning outcomes, what students will be able to do after getting that knowledge, how they'll be applying that knowledge for the betterment of the society. The clarity which they were having, it was visible. The contents which they have kept, that is as per the needs of the society, immediately industry 4, the advancements which are taking in science and technology, everything was clearly mentioned. And for delivering that one, for achieving those outcomes, in fact, we need quality teachers. Without teachers, whatever dreams may be having, whatever regulatory mechanism we may be having, if won't be having quality teachers who are really dedicated, who are loving this profession, and who are concerned for the betterment of these students, if those type of teachers we are unable to produce in this great country, I think the dreams which we are having, we won't be able to achieve. So in that meeting, it was in daytime, but the connect which they are having connect with many of the US universities. So 2 days we were there. When in India there is a daytime, in US it is night time, and majority of the time we were unable to interact with those teachers, but continuously they were waiting that when committee will be meeting with us and when they'll be interacting. So the type of dedication which those professors were having, whole night they were waiting and for meeting with our team. So special the attribute which we have seen and special abilities of those teachers, the US teachers we have seen, they were something very different. Their dedication, their sincerity, and connecting themselves with our universities. It can happen only if the teachers are dedicated, and certainly the university which want to take their benefit, they are also concerned, they are transparent. If the university is having zeal, enthusiasm, then only good people will be connected. So in national education policy, it is being said autonomy to the universities, it has to be their name and fame which they are carrying, even internationally it has to be exposed and connect to the international universities. It has to be so strong autonomy to every university. It has to be, if autonomy is being given, that time we'll have to think as a regulator, we'll have to see that can they do justice with that autonomy. In our school education system, sir, we are having autonomy at class 11th level. In 10th level, we are having board. At 12th level, we are having board examination. At 11th level, there is no autonomy, and there is no board examination. So schools are autonomous. They can prepare their curriculum. They can set their question papers. They can take the examination, everything. But when students are entering into higher education or appearing in some competitive examination, either 10th percentage of marks are being asked or 12th percentage is being asked. No one is asking what is the percentage of students got in class 11. It means when autonomy is there with the schools, that percentage is not being entertained, in fact. And one of the reason is, in our country, probably the autonomy of the institute has not become matured. The faith of the society on autonomy is not much. Our IT system, our NITs, since years they are working, strong faith people are having, but probably in that the faith of the society, it has to be. So when we are granting autonomy, when this regulatory mechanism will come, and up to 2035, as Professor Tiwari was saying, that every institute will be autonomous, certainly it's a great dream. But when we are giving autonomy, certain level of accountability it has to be. Without accountability, the autonomy is also disastrous. That seriously we have to think. Many a times we are discussing with industry people that why you are not accepting our graduates. Out of that 18 lakhs, 13 lakhs have passed, only 7 lakhs are getting job. Why we are not accepting our graduates? One challenge which they are putting, they are saying the curriculum of yours, what contents you people are delivering, it is outdated. There is no use of. In fact, whenever it has been discussed with industries that what type of students, what type of curriculum you need. So in mechanism which we are bringing now, the mechanism which we are bringing, it should be in such a way, it should be able to connect our school students, schools, it should be able to impart education in higher education institutes. The grooming which is being done in the schools, that also it has to be connected with higher education, and whatever outcomes which are expected, it should be as per the needs of the industries. So the General Education Council which is being formed, foremost recommendation from my side, it will be there has to be a strong connect with the school education, the higher education which we are imparting, and the entry of the students which is into the industries. That strong connect, it has to be established. Second thing, when we are asking from the industry why you are not accepting, they are saying your practically your students are very weak. They are saying Indian doctors are more acceptable, Indian lawyers are more accepted anywhere in the world, not only in India. I'm saying our doctors are having great respect, our lawyers are having more acceptance. The reason for that one is they are saying our medical colleges, when approval is being given to medical colleges, foremost condition is with medical college adjacent to that one or in continuity to that one hospital with 300 bedded hospital, it has to be. So the academic inputs which are being given to medical students, morning the theory classes are there, evening students are entering into those hospitals which are the part of that medical college. They are treating the patients, and those patients which are having latest diseases. Today if corona is there, that student, he may be studying in class 3rd year of medical education, he'll have to treat that patient. So the latest problem which are there, those doctors are solving those problems. In low education are observed, even in the institute there are courts, in fact MOOC courts are there, students are practicing whatever they are learning, they are practicing. But in our technical education system, the type of mechanism which we are having, industries are far away, institutes are in rural areas, there is no connect. Whatever it is being taught inside the classes, application of that one, which should be into the industries, but that connect we are unable to establish into this one. So the mechanism which we people are devising now, or the national education policy is saying, there in every district there has to be very big university which may accommodate some 50,000 students. So in our regulatory mechanism, immediately we'll have to bring that university which is being established in every district, multidisciplinary university it will be, but same time whatever learning it is taking inside the classes, that application of that knowledge through some industrial connect nearby or into those universities, just like PSG Coimbatore model. In PSG Coimbatore, the academic institute is there, and same institute who are going out from that institute, even they are allowed to establish their own startups into that PSG college itself. So even the junior students are getting that benefit also. So in our regulatory mechanism, and particularly General Education Council, foremost important role which will be in our this new mechanism, that is General Education Council. They'll be deciding the curriculum, probably the learning outcomes of that one, graduate attributes, and finally it will be giving to regulators that you please implement that one. And then the accreditation body is coming into picture, that the learning outcomes which supposed to have been there, does the students have achieved those learning outcomes? In between, institutes are needing some financial help, then it will be coming through our funding agencies. So that strong connect between four, it has to be the development of the curriculum, learning outcomes, the regulatory mechanism, how those learning outcomes will be achieved, the testing of those learning outcomes, and if some financial assistance is needed in between, then role of the granting agency it has to be. When again I'm saying, when we are discussing with industries, the foremost important part which they are saying the students who are coming out from your universities, they are highly materialistic. They are saying their attitude is more or less selfish. Just they are discussing about the packages only. Very little students are there who are discussing about the ownership with that university, with industry, or connect with that one, or dedication, sincerity, or team building capabilities and all. Those soft skills are poor in our students. They are saying the critical thinking abilities of the students, the decision making power of the students, problem solving abilities of the students, they are saying poorer. So sir, you are saying technically sound, professionally competent, and socially relevant. They are saying, industries are saying, the attitude, knowledge, skill which you people are imparting in your institutes, that component of attitude, the hands-on part, it is missing or it is little. In our mechanism, that component also it has to be brought, which used to come through our parenting system, the family system which we are having, the joint family system which we are having in our country. Our grandparents, our dada dadi, they were the best teachers in our family system. Now the way the families are being broken, we have removed those grandparents, so no one is there to educate our students. In a family, parents don't have time, probably old grand people we have removed. So the soft skills part, which we people Indians were special because we were having something very special in our personality. हम तो देने वाले थे, कभी हाथ फैलाने वाले नहीं थे. Package was not important for us. Even students, when they are entering into our academic institute, first day when they have taken admission, first question they are asking from their teachers, sir, what package I'll be getting after 4 years I taken admission in that branch. It is not bad that they are asking packages, but first question they are asking from the teacher, sir, that what package I'll be getting. He is not asking what responsibilities I'll to shoulder. So in our whole mechanism, whole education mechanism, the holistic development which has been talked into our national education policy, seriously we'll have to think. The schools which we used to have, where all sort of personality development used to have, every Saturday we used to have Bal Sabha. The students were playing, our campuses were live. Now that part, it has been changed to the coaching system, the decision making, problem solving abilities or cognitive skills students should have, that we people in our education system, we have removed. and coaching it has taken place. That mugging part, just remembering capabilities of the students, it has been enhanced. So whatever mechanism is coming, sir, anything, any happening is there, it should be inside the campus itself. No separate mechanism of coaching, everything, it should go. And role of teacher, it has to be very important. Teachers training, it has become very important into this one. And autonomy to teachers, empowering our teachers. Teachers can do miracles. They are the at forefront of the society leadership, in fact. But the respect, the salary packages which they are supposed to have, the autonomy which they like to have, that autonomy to the teachers also we like to have. As Professor Sastriji was saying, that AICT has done certain changes. Still, we are not satisfied, sir. We are saying we are becoming just like facilitators. We are not inspectors, in fact, and we are saying our regulations are light but tight. When I'm saying light, every institute, every year, they like to disclose, self-disclosure they like to have, that according to our norms and standards, what exactly they are having, the number of teachers, their qualification, their ability, their publication, the students' academic results, the placements, whatever it is there, self-disclosure it has to be. But when some grievance is there, if some complaints are there, certainly we are very tight. There is no doubt about this one. Probably with these words, I'll be extending my sincere thanks. If some questions will be coming, again, I'll be able to reply. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Punia. Thank you very much. Can we have some 15 minutes for questions to the learned panel? Please, who will manage that? Can we go for questions, please?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, please. And let the question be addressed to the speaker. And it should be brief. We can have about 10-15 minutes for questions, please. Can we start?
So there's a question on the chat from Dr. Punia.
Please.
There is a question about funding from AICT side. We are having 32 different schemes. We are doing funding to students, to faculty members, and even for infrastructure development in the area of research promotion to the teachers, even for students for doing some innovative activities, for institute development, some hostels for SC/ST students, even some laboratories we are developing into the academic institute. The question is, does AICT publishes any list of the funded projects and even the PI, the principal investigator, who are, everything is online. In our case, everything is online. Even proposals which are receiving, it is online. Assessment is also online. The strong use of technology in approval process as well as approving funds, it is online. And there may not be a complete, because different 32 schemes are there. There may not be a complete one list of the principal investigator. But it is a good suggestion we can put on our web portal, that what are the projects going on, what are the outcomes of that one, what patents it has been received, how many publication it is, and who else is getting these funds. In fact, those details we can put.
Yes. Next one. Next question.
What bureaucracy as university in the ICT. Another question, sir. It is being asked that what is the role of AICT as envisaged in HECI? Now there won't be any separate AICT. There won't be any separate UGC. There will be a commission, complete commission, who will be looking after planning and development of the education in whole country. For implementation of the policies of commission, there will be 4 legs. In fact, different legs will be. One is basically for having general education role. The council will be for general education, for bringing the curriculum and learning outcomes expectation. Second one, there will be a regulator. Third one will be giving funding. Fourth one will be assessing the quality of that education. Exactly, it is not clear what AICT, what type of role will be having. Certainly, the type of work which we people are having in the area of regulation, probably we may get that type of role where all sort of education will be regulated by AICT. That my just expectation. But depending upon the capabilities of every institution, just like NCT or AICT or UGC, whatever their strengths are, probably according to that one, that assignment will be given.
2-3 more questions before I wind up. We are already ahead of time.
So another, just thanksgiving for this one, what I said for putting the list of the research projects and all, and not only research projects, even the innovative ideas which students are having, all sort of ideas. It has been compiled on a web portal. It is in the name of students mind. It is on the mind ideas we are having on that one. Even the funding which we are doing to the students, that list is also available on a common platform. On the basis of innovation, we are doing ranking of the institutes also. That sort of platform is also available. For internship, there is a common platform. We are having National Education Alliance for Technologies. We are having their students can register for enhancing their employability. So many initiatives, and particularly by intervention of technology, that we people are having, and that benefit can be taken.
One or two more questions.
The floor is open for questions. Ladies and gentlemen, you might unmute yourself and ask questions.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'm Dr. Swati, Faculty of English from Geetham. I know we're the host, but may I just make a statement and ask a question?
Be brief, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, till now, for the industry and the skill requirement aspect of employment, NASSCOM has been taking care of facilitating the details, the surveys and the industry education gap, the quality of it or all. So what will be the future of this? How will the industry and the education gap will be studied from now on? And what is the role of NASSCOM after this in the new system?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We are having a tie-up with NASSCOM also, and they are doing certain level of assessment, particularly related to students' learning outcomes. Students' learning outcomes in the core related to core competencies in the area of soft skills also. And those inputs we are taking for the curriculum development. When we are revising the curriculum, all sort of inputs which are coming for improving the quality of education, those inputs we are taking. Now we are having tie-up with Stanford University also, and we have given this assignment that do assessment the capabilities of our Indian students, and particularly in 3 areas: critical thinking, decision making, and problem solving, and specifically in schools students. And they have done that work, and they have submitted their report also. Respected Chairman, sir, the outcome of that report is they have gone into our schools, particularly at class 11th and 12th level, and rigorous exercise Stanford University have done, and they have submitted their report around 6 months back. According to their report, our Indian school-going students, they have compared our students with Chinese and Russian students also in the same age group. They are saying in these 3 areas, critical thinking, decision making, problem solving, our students are weak as compared to Chinese and Russian students. It was in fact surprising for us. We are saying our students are very good, particularly in critical thinking and all. They are saying our students are weak. and reason which they have specified that autonomy is not available to the students. Even they are unable to speak inside the classes. Teachers are not permitting them to speak. Even in probably in our family system, we are not allowing our children to speak. We are saying as a parent, as a guardian, we are knowing everything, you don't know. So probably that autonomy is not there in schools. But the beautiful part of that report is same team, they have gone into our universities also, in our colleges also. And there when they studied, they are saying the learning curve of our Indian students are much faster as compared to Chinese and Russian students when autonomy is being given. When students are working in team, when they're working in projects, when they're working in groups, staying in the hostels, boys, girls, sitting into canteen, when they are discussing, when those sort of autonomy is being given, when facility is being given, the learning curve of our Indian students are very fast. So that project now with NESCOM and even AICT also continuing for whole country now every year at the entry point of the students and in third year level, we'll be assessing the learning outcomes of the students in core competencies as well as in soft skills. If some gaps are there in final year, those gaps can be filled in fact, and that feedback mechanism will be useful for improving the quality of employability of the students.
It's a
Thank
wonderful
you.
initiative, sir. Thank you so much.
Two more questions. Please.
I am Dr. Shashindranath, Vice Chancellor of Kerala Veterinary and Animal Sciences University. In our university, we have the BTech Dairy Science and Technology as well as food technology. My doubt is under NEP 2020, we will be having different sets of rules, regulations, everything. But at this moment, our degree is BTech Dairy Science and Technology approved by AICTE as well as ICR. But we are following ICR syllabus. And so my question is whether the research grant and all, as well as the...
Sir, your question.
Yeah,
what is your question?
Question is whether our students will be...
What is your question?
Question whether it will be, whether our students will be eligible for this AICTE grants and all, since it is following ICR syllabus.
Punia sir.
Yes, sir. Actually, AICTE doesn't recommend any curriculum. Actually, we are having model curriculum, but we are not forcing. Universities are there to decide the curriculum, their academic councils and all. Indian Council of Agriculture Research may have devised, may have formulated some syllabus you people may be following. But as far as norms and standards are concerned for teachers and your infrastructure, that it has been approved by AICTE. So if approval of AICTE is there, all sort of schemes which you are having for faculty, for students, for institute, you people are eligible for taking the benefit of this one.
Last question. Any other question? Last question, please. We have to wind up. I'll just take 2 minutes. Any other question? Is there any other question, please?
Just sir, last one suggestion it is there, and that is that is regarding the thrust areas for research in time to come. So the National Research Foundation, which we are having, where around 50,000 crores budget is available for next 5 years, that National Research Foundation will be working on the thrust areas only, the thrust areas of the country, even thrust areas of the states. Different states may be having different difficulties and different areas for research. So every university which is in different states, in fact, according to those thrust areas, which are the needs of the state, the NRF will be doing funding. And the target is, in fact, it may be general university, it may be technical university, it may be remotest corner of the country. Everywhere for knowledge creation, some funding it has to be, and that will be according to the mission of the country, mission of the state, the thrust areas of the state.
Thank you, Dr. Punia. Thank you very much. And thank you all the learned speakers. We had a wonderful discussion. I'm of the opinion that the NEP 2020 and those 3 or 4 verticals, if they provide administrative and financial autonomy to the institutions, if they create an environment of tradition of excellence, if they provide flexibility in academic matters, and also promote quality, much of the purpose would be solved. And finally, I'm reminded of what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said when our constitution was being finally prepared. He said, however good a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will prove to be bad. However bad a constitution may be, those implementing it are good, it will prove to be good. To my mind, whatever verticals you may create for higher education, for excellence, for improving the quality of higher education, if the persons, those who will manage these institutions, those verticals, those councils and commissions, if they are good, everything would be all right. Results would be wonderful. And if those who would come to manage it, if they would not be good people of quality and heart and head and heart, then the desired reforms will not come. I think the country and everybody has to remember that the laws and the systems and the structures are not important. The person behind the structures and those laws, those who have to implement it, effectuate it, are more important. With these words, thank you very much for a very lively discussion. And I think students, faculty, everybody would be benefited by your wonderful views. And thank you for your time. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, sir. That was truly an engaging session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We now have a comfort break here for 20 minutes. We'll see you right back at 4 p.m. for the next session on institutional restructuring, effective governance, and leadership. Thank you.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर, प्रोफेसर अग्रवाल साहब, संधू साहब।
नमस्कार। अच्छा, मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬੁਲਾ ਲਾਂਗਾ ਫਿਰ।
हाँ जी, गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून, क्या हाल चाल है संधू साहब?
ये वाले कहते कि वो ਲੱਭ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਜੀ।
हाँ सर, मैं ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲਵਾਂ, ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਣਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਜੀ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਵਿੱਚੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਸਰ, ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਨਾਲ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਲਿਆਈਦਾ ਜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ।
ਲੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੜਨਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ।
बड़ा मुश्किल है सर। सर क्या हाल है सर?
बस आपकी दुआएं संधू साहब, गुजर रही है जिंदगी, बड़े मजे में गुजर रही है। ऊपर वाले का बहुत बहुत शुक्र एहसान, आप लोगों की दुआएं। और आप बताएं अमृतसर के क्या हाल चाल हैं?
ठीक है सर, पूरी फंक्शनल यूनिवर्सिटी हो गई, 100% स्टूडेंट्स।
मैं अभी लखनऊ गया था, वहां भी लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी फुल्ली फंक्शनल हो गई। मुझे लगता है कि सिर्फ दिल्ली की यूनिवर्सिटियां ही जो हैं वो थोड़ी सी देर कर रही हैं, शायद ज्यादा कॉशियस है।
हाँ सर, हमने तो एग्जाम भी ऑफलाइन लिए हैं सर सारे।
अच्छा।
We first time we took online, sir, and there was lots of corruption and lots of hanky-panky, and people who were toppers, they came to the bottom, people from the bottom came to the top. This time I put my foot down. I said, either you appear or you don't, or you either NTA will conduct it, or it will be done by NTA. कोई करना नहीं चाहता, NTA से बहुत डरते हैं लोग।
NTA means
नेशनल टेस्टिंग एजेंसी सर, जो MHRD की अग्रवाल साहब रोज। अच्छा, विनीत रन कर रहा है ना, वो
विनीत रन कर रहे हैं। तो एनटीए भी इस तरह के एग्जाम्स करा रही है? अगर कोई यूनिवर्सिटी
मैंने अपना एंट्रेंस टेस्ट करवाया ना सर, इस बार एडमिशन का एंट्रेंस टेस्ट सब एनटीए से करवाया।
ओके।
मैंने मतलब आप कुछ नहीं किया, बिकॉज दिस टाइम ना, बिकॉज एट द टाइम इट वाज द पीक, सो वी थॉट व्हाट हाउ टू वी गो विद प्रोप्राइटी, सो वी वेंट टू एनटीए।
Okay.
Per candidate it took 500 rupees plus GST, and it was proctored examination conducted in their home. So they were so particular that even the movement of the eyes they noted, and they put the UMC on that.
Okay.
But it was absolute, कोई भी complaint नहीं आई sir, सारी admission मेरी हुई है, that is through NTA. So when this thing happened sir, the annual examination, I told the same thing. I said, you want to conduct the examination through NTA or through offline? तो जो एनटीए के बाद के सब ऑफलाइन पे भाग गए।
और क्या हाल है फरकान साहब?
डॉक्टर साहब, आपकी दुआएं, आपका आशीर्वाद। आप बताएं कैसे हैं?
बस बढ़िया।
हेल्थ वाइज, अदरवाइज
सब चल रहा है।
ग्रेट।
अमृतसर के यहाँ ठीक ही रहेंगे सर।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार, थैंक्स फॉर ज्वाइनिंग।
नमस्कार, कैसे हैं?
ठीक ठाक। संधू सर नमस्कार, फुरकान जी नमस्कार।
कौन आप? डॉक्टर मित्तल?
यस।
आप दिखाई नहीं दे रही है, क्या चक्कर है?
आवाज ही बहुत है सर, इनके डर लगता है आवाज सुन के।
नहीं मैं दिखाई दे रही हूँ, मेरे को तो कैमरा आ रहा है।
नहीं मैं नहीं दिख रहे आप।
दिखाई दे रही हो?
लेकिन पता नहीं कुछ शायद मेरा ख्याल इसमें कुछ करना होगा। नहीं
फुरकान भाई आप सबको नजर आ रहे हैं, लेकिन
चले साहब दुआएं हैं बस ये
मैडम नमस्कार।
ये मेहरबानी बनी रहनी चाहिए।
हाँ
तो वैसे संधू साहब अभी किसी ने बताया कि ये जो ऑनलाइन प्रॉक्टेड एग्जाम्स हैं उन्होंने उसमें किसी को पकड़ा के मालूम हुआ एक ही सीपीयू से 2 कीबोर्ड लगे हुए थे।
हाँ हाँ जी सर।
एक कीबोर्ड पे तो स्टूडेंट काम कर रहा था और वो आई मूवमेंट और ये सब कुछ था, लेकिन उस कीबोर्ड से टाइप किया हुआ कुछ उस पर टाइप नहीं हो रहा था। उसके सामने एक और बैठा हुआ था, वो दूसरे कीबोर्ड से टाइप कर रहा था, की इन कर रहा था, और वो सब उसमें सिस्टम में जा रहा था।
हाँ सर, ये भी पॉसिबल है सर, बट ऑन दी होल सर हमारा जो टेस्ट हुआ है सर उसमें तो देयर वाज जो उनकी एक्चुअल मेरिट भी देखो उसी बेसिस पे नंबर आए हैं उनके। So on the whole, 90-95% these people could do it with propriety, sir.
True.
And yeah, maybe this was the first exam of the entrance test conducted for university. That it could be possibly they were more careful. हाँ सर, कोई 120 UMC लगाई है इन्होंने अराउंड 120 के नजदीक, और किसी ने भी उस पर कमेंट नहीं दिया सर।
So this test was common for all subjects?
No sir, every subject individual test sir.
Okay.
फुरकान भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्ट्राइक डाउन किया था होम प्रॉक्टर्ड एग्जाम लॉ का।
अच्छा
जी
अच्छा।
एनएलएस बेंगलोर जो था वो क्लैट छोड़ के चले गए थे और उन्होंने कहा हम अपना करेंगे होम प्रॉक्टर्ड। उसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा इस एग्जाम की इंटीग्रिटी नहीं है। स्ट्राइक डाउन हुआ था, फिर वो दोबारा क्लैट में आए।
एनएलयू तो सदा ही अपना करता था मुस्तफा साहब।
जी सर,
एनएलयू दिल्ली तो सदा ही अपना करता था।
फिर से कहें जसवाल में,
मैं क्या एनएलयू दिल्ली तो सदा ही अपना करता था।
नहीं, टेस्ट अलग करने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, होम प्रॉक्टर्ड करने में प्रॉब्लम है।
अच्छा,
होम प्रॉक्टर्ड के बारे में।
अच्छा, वो कंसोर्शियम के पार्ट थे तो वो कंसोर्शियम से छोड़ के गए कोरोना की वजह से, क्योंकि डिले हो रहा था, कई बार पोस्टपोनमेंट हुआ। अब वो तो नेशनल प्रॉब्लम थी सर, हम लोग क्या कर सकते थे। हमने तो देखिए सितंबर में कर लिया और सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटीज अभी तक एडमिशंस कर रही हैं डिफरेंट कोर्सेज।
सिचुएशन अनप्रेसिडेंटेड थी तो कुछ ना कुछ होगा ही।
जी।
वैसे फैजान भाई, मैंने आपका वीडियो देखा कि वेदर यूनिवर्सिटी एम्प्लॉइज एंड टीचर्स आर गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज और नॉट, बहुत अच्छा लगा। बहुत वेल आर्ग्यूड, वेरी कन्विंसिंग। तो एक तो बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और बहुत अच्छा, यानी इट्स वेरी वेरी एजुकेटिव। बस प्रॉब्लम यह है कि जो आपने आखिर में जब कंक्लूड किया कि अगर एक बार यूनिवर्सिटी की ईसी ये तय कर ले कि दे हैव अडॉप्टेड, तब इसका मतलब वो जो सारे आपके आर्गुमेंट्स हैं वो इनफेक्चुअस हो जाते हैं। नहीं
तो ईसी को करना नहीं चाहिए, दरअसल
ईसी को करना नहीं चाहिए। लेकिन
अच्छा, मैं ये कह रहा हूं सर, ईसी भी अडॉप्ट करेगी सीसीएस रूल्स तो नॉन टीचिंग स्टाफ के लिए करें, क्योंकि सीसीएस रूल्स टीचर्स के लिए बने ही नहीं है।
नहीं, आपके आर्गुमेंट में बहुत ही दम है, लेकिन ज्यादातर यूनिवर्सिटियों ने एक स्टैंडर्ड रेजोल्यूशन, सिर्फ वही 3-4 नहीं जिनके आपने नाम लिए थे, बल्कि ज्यादातर यूनिवर्सिटीज ने ये बाई प्रॉक्सी एक रेजोल्यूशन पास कर रखा है कि अगर उनके ऑर्डिनेंसेस और स्टैट्यूट्स किसी इशू पर साइलेंट हैं तो फिर जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के जो रिलेटेड मतलब प्रोविजंस हैं वो लागू होंगे। तो वो पहले फिनांस के मैटर पे लागू होते थे और अब उन्होंने एम्प्लॉइज अफेयर के मैटर पे भी लागू कर दिया है।
बिल्कुल।
तो मेरा ख्याल इसको बहुत एजुकेट करने की लोगों को जरूरत है।
अब सर ये ना कि हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि ईसी जो है वो डिसीजन ना ले। मेरा ये कहना है कि पावर जब ईसी के पास है तो ईसी को अगर उसी को फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट मानना है सीसीएस रूल्स को, तो कम से कम ये तो देखें ना कि टीचिंग जॉब अलग है, नॉन टीचिंग जॉब अलग है। अच्छा, जो टीचर्स के लिए डिसिप्लिनरी मैटर्स होंगे वो नॉन टीचिंग के लिए तो नहीं होंगे। नॉन टीचिंग वाला तो कभी प्लेजरिज्म नहीं करेगा, फाइल पे हम ही लोग करेंगे ही तो उसके रूल्स अलग बनाने चाहिए। ये हमारी ईसीज जो है ना सर, ये जो वीसी कहते हैं वो कर देती हैं। दरअसल ईसी में टीचर्स नहीं बोलते, ये यूनिवर्सिटीज की सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है जो एआईयू को उठानी चाहिए।
सही।
और सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज वाइस चांसलर सेंट्रिक हैं, जो वीसी कहते हैं बस वो सब मान लेते हैं।
और
नहीं, या तो एक्सट्रीमली उसका उल्टा हो जाता है कभी कभी।
किसी को नहीं बोलने देते हम तो आजकल वही कह रहे हैं।
सर AIU बिजनेस सेशन होता है हर मीटिंग में, और उसमें हम कहते हैं कि जो भी इश्यूज आप चाहते हैं गवर्नमेंट से टेकअप करें या आपस में टेकअप करें तो उठाएं। कोई उठाते नहीं है ना इशू उस बिजनेस सेशन में, वाइस चांसलर।
नहीं, मैडम सही कह रही हैं कि टीचर्स बहुत डोसाइल हैं। अच्छा, जो एक इंटेलेक्चुअल में स्पाइन होनी चाहिए कि भाई आप वीसी को, अपनी एक एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल को रखे विद इन देयर पावर्स, वो नहीं रखते हो, जो चाहे डिसीजन कर देते हैं।
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं भाई। आप ये देखिए, मैं अभी देख रहा था कि वो डिफरेंट यूनिवर्सिटीज में
शुरू करें,
डिफरेंट यूनिवर्सिटीज ने वो इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी का जो वो डिस्क्लोजर है वो अपने यहाँ अडॉप्ट कर लिया। तो उसके फॉर्म की जो लैंग्वेज है वो भी वही है जो सीसीएस में दी हुई है। तो बल्कि पहला कॉलम ही उसमें यह है कि नेम ऑफ द ऑफिसर्स एंड सर्विस टू विच द ऑफिसर बिलोंग्स।
चलिए फरकान जी शुरू करें, पंकज कह रही हैं। हाँ, शुरू करें।
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but I'm compelled to begin the session. Welcome to the second technical session on institutional restructuring, effective governance and leadership. We have in chair for this session Professor Dr. K.K. Agarwal, Chairman NBA, and the speakers are Professor Jaspal Singh Sandhu, Vice Chancellor, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, Professor Farkan Kamar, former Secretary General, AIU, and Professor R. Karpaga Kumaravel, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Tamil Nadu. Let me quickly introduce the chair to you, and then I will bring in the panelists for the session. Professor K.K. Agarwal obtained his engineering degree in 1968 and PhD degree in 1975. He served as founder Vice Chancellor of GS Indraprastha University, Delhi for a period of 10 years. He has been president of IETE for a period 2002 and 2004, President Computer Society of India for the period 2007 to 9, and also President Southeast Asia Regional Computer Confederation for 2 years. He was conferred Lifetime Achievement Award by IETE as also by Computer Society of India. He was honored by Reliability Society of IEEE USA and presently serves as Chairman, National Board of Accreditation. Ladies and gentlemen, now let me introduce the first speaker. Professor Jaspal Singh Sandhu, Vice Chancellor, Guru Nanak Dev University, is the first medical doctor to be the Vice Chancellor of Multi-Specialty University in the state of Punjab. He completed his graduation and post-graduation in medicine from Government Medical College, Amritsar. Subsequent to his interest in sports, he joined post-graduation in sports medicine from Netaji Subhash National Institute of Sports, Patiala. For his outstanding contribution to the field of medicine, he was honored as Fellow of National Academy of Medical Sciences. He has more than 200 publications to his credit. He also served as a Secretary of University Grants Commission for over 3 years. He has memberships of more than a dozen professional associations and bodies, besides being the peer reviewer and member of editorial board of numerous international journals. He has been part of the Government of India delegations to Norway, China, Iran, Maldives, and was invited for invited lectures in more than 24 countries. The second speaker in line is Dr. Farkan Kamar, who is presently Professor of Management at the Center of Management Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. He has served as the Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities, the largest and one of the oldest network universities in the world. In his illustrious career, Dr. Kamar has held the position of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Rajasthan and the Central University of Himachal Pradesh. He has also served as advisor in the Planning Commission of India. Essentially a professor of management, he has keen research interest in public policy, planning, administration, and financing of higher education, and has numerous publications in journals of repute to his credit. Professor Kamar has chaired and been members of a large number of committees, working groups at their national and international level. Dr. Kamar thus brings with him academic eminence, leadership qualities, and exposure to best global practices. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in the third speaker to you. Professor Karpaga Kumaravel is presently serving as the Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor and Dean, School of Education and Training, Central University of Tamil Nadu, an awardee of Senior Fulbright and Commonwealth Fellowship. Professor Kumaravel has served successfully in various capacities as Vice Chancellor of a reputed state university between 2008 and 2011. He has a PhD in Education, Specialization and Application of Educational Technology. Under Professor Kumar Evil's leadership as a project coordinator and head of the Department of Educational Technology has emerged as a first department in educational technology in South India to get the research study status with a special assistance from the UGC, for which he was a project coordinator. As part of the UGC SAP project, he has trained thousands of higher education teachers in education multimedia and e-content development across the country and equipped the department with state-of-the-art facilities. On this note, may I request Professor Agarwal to take the session forward.
Thank you, Dr. Sushma. It's a pleasure to be a part of this session, the South Zone Vice Chancellors Conference of AIU, with very eminent panelists with me. Friends, this session, which is titled as Institutional Restructuring, Effective Governance and Leadership, is being held in the backdrop of announcement of NEP 2020. And all my eminent panelists and all the member vice chancellors here are very well aware of NEP 2020 with an abundant number of webinars they have delivered or attended. I think NEP clauses are by now memorized by most of you. But the issues are, when we go to implement it, there will be some structural changes required and very strong structural changes required. Without that, it will be very difficult to implement NEP in its spirit. So therefore, I feel this session about institutional restructuring, effective governance and leadership is an essential and very necessary component of implementation of NEP. I thought I'll touch upon a few brief topics very briefly, and then hand it over to my very capable eminent panelists. First is governance at the highest level. We have contemplated Higher Education Commission of India. When does it take birth is still a little unknown fact, but probably very soon it will be delivered. And then the entire governance mechanism of education in the country will go through a change. At the moment, we have UGC, AICT, NCT, so on and so forth. But with Higher Education Commission of India, all these subject-specific bodies, except with the exception of law and agriculture, for which I really don't have a reason known to me, that short of law and agriculture, everything will be subject independent in the sense that they will be all integrated into Higher Education Commission of India. The division of work is rather in the form of 4 verticals, which will be for regulation, number 1, number 2 for accreditation, number 3 for grants, and number 4 for standard setting. And these 4 verticals will independently look after all institutions in the country. And some basic premises which are being made here are that if these 4 verticals are working independently, then the biases and because at the moment a grant giving agency also knows what are the weaknesses and things like that. So therefore that will be independent of the whole thing. These 4 verticals will hopefully work very independently. Accreditation, for that matter, has been stated as accreditation will be the primary means of regulation, because our regulation at the moment is for greenfield universities. Now for greenfield universities, what can UGC or AICT really see? Because you just don't have anything except the land and at best first-year buildings or things like that. Therefore, accreditation, which at the moment in the country is being handled by NAC or NBA, is coming into picture after 2 batches graduate. Therefore, it is expected that most of the things required for a successful professional graduate are in place. All the laboratories are in place, by and large the faculty is in place, and so on and so forth. That is why that assessment, which is 2 years after graduation, will be much more meaningful, much more solid, and therefore we say National Accreditation Council will be the primary method of regulation in the country. Now, having said that, and having assumed that we will be able to accredit 1,000+ universities and 40,000+ colleges, obviously the two organizations will not be good enough. Therefore, there is a stipulation that we might create several other accreditation agencies. And what will be their domains, what will be their specific functions is not clear still. But what is clear is that there will be a National Accreditation Council which will rather accredit the accrediting agencies. For example, NAC will decide what should be the process of accreditation, what should be the basic norms of accreditation, and the present NAC and the present NBA will be two of the member agencies of NAC. There may be several others. We do not have an idea of that so far, because if the volume of work like this has to be handled, then many things have to come in. We were just having a talk about governance and autonomy of the universities. Without the autonomy, in the real sense, I personally believe implementing NEP will be almost impossible, because when you talk about bank of credits, credit transfer, student mobility, all these, the flexibility in the course, branchless engineering, and so on and so forth. When you talk about all these, decision taking will have to be taken at a very low level. UGC or HECI will not be able to take centralized decisions for everybody. Even university will not be able to take decision for colleges. Therefore, sooner we de-link affiliation system from the universities or autonomy, because even colleges have to be autonomous if these things have to be implemented. We were just having an informal chat before the session started, and we were talking about autonomy of the university. And I am just reminding my fellow colleagues, I've been told that at least 2 states in India, even the university professors are selected by other than the universities. Bihar and Odisha, I've been told there's a University Service Commission which selects professors for the universities for their states. Now, if that is our implementation of autonomy, I think AIU is very right that somewhere something will have to come in, because we talk about autonomy in 1,000+ webinars, and we have service commissions are selecting professors for the universities. These two phenomena will not be able to go together, I feel. So we'll have to put our card straight and see what do we mean by autonomy and what do we mean by excellence of the universities. Only sentence I would like to make: excellence without autonomy is impossible. And let's make it sure that autonomy at whatever cost will have to be provided. I talked to some vice chancellors and they say, sir, how do I make colleges autonomous? Principals are not responsible. Well, I personally feel that statement should not be acceptable. Even teachers, I've been told, many universities, all of you in the colleges, universities, Professor Furqan Qamar has been at the helm of affairs of AIU for full 5 years, and prior to that many responsible positions. And Dr. Sandhu has been in UGC, which has been a sort of regulation for everything. And now in GNDU also, I was very happy when it was introduced that he's the first doctor to head the multi-faculty university. And I know for sure that he has used his diagnostics and treatment in the university faculties pretty well. And therefore, this experiment is not a bad experiment for the country. We can think of other doctors also who have equally good capabilities of diagnosis and treatment. But having said that, unless we really do diagnostics of the education system with a fair mind, with an unbiased mind, I think many of the things which we'll be talking may not have a meaning. And I, for one, definitely believe autonomy to the universities or the leaders, academic leaders of the universities will have to ensure and I can definitely make a statement when I look back into the analysis, whether autonomy has been snatched away from the vice chancellors or whether vice chancellors have surrendered autonomy is $1 million question. And I think both are true. So we at least will have to set our house in order and make sure what we want for implementation of NEP. With these initial remarks and knowing my the ideas full in the panelists, I invite the first panelist, my great friend, Professor Jaspal Singh Sandhu, Vice Chancellor of GND University, Amritsar, to make his observations, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Agarwal. Thank you, Dr. Mittal, Dr. Furqan, for inviting me for this session. I'll actually like to start with an anecdote. I recently went to a university in UK. Outside the Vice Chancellor's office, there was a plaque which said that from this particular place, a student stood and threw a stone at the Vice Chancellor's window. So then I asked him, why did he do that? He said he did it because he did his bachelor's from the university, the master's and the PhD. And for this 10 years he's been in the university, he never saw the Vice Chancellor's face. He was just wanting to see how the Vice Chancellor looks like. That was the kind of reputation or the kind of silo the Vice Chancellor used to work in. But things have changed tremendously, sir. I will present my university as a case study, not otherwise, because you talked, lots of them talked about the NEP, lots of them talked about good governance, lots of them talked about the 4 verticals. I think I must have given these 8, 10 of the 20, maybe more than lectures on this itself, but I'm going to just present my own way of working. It may not be the optimal one, but how we could have possibly, how we are managing things here, sir. So this is the first important thing is that every vice chancellor has to get off his high horse and become a chief executive officer of university. He has to be equal or the first among equals as not a vice chancellor anymore. The first and foremost duty of a vice chancellor, any university, maybe central university or a state university, is not actually the policy making, it is to get finances. So that is a major problem. I still remember when we were in UGC, Madam Pankaj and we used to sit together and Vice Chancellor from Central University come and ask how much money would you give us and how are we going to run the university, and we are always short of money. I'll present the data, sir. In my university, the budget stands today at around 580 crores. But what do I get from the government? I get 49 crores from the government. That's less than 10% of my total budget. So how do I manage it? So when we joined the university, we had loss of few crores. So we started how can we start getting the things in proper fashion. First and foremost we did was, sir, we centralized the purchase in the sense that not that Vice Chancellor does the purchase. We made a centralized purchase committee in which we had people of eminence there. So if a department A had to do a purchase, they would come to centralized purchase committee and we could give bulk orders. We reduced the price of most of the equipment tremendously. So we saved lots of money on that. The second initiative, we thought that how can we reduce the recurring charges in the university. We went out for the solar to the Solar Energy Corporation of India, and today we are saving about 4 to 5 crores of rupees every year just from the electricity itself. Here we could not make our things, we could not balance our finances. We had to see that somehow our admission should increase. How could we increase the admission, sir? One was to build up the reputation of the university, see that people are attracted towards it. At present, Gandhi University happens to be the top university of the state of Punjab. This is the only category 1 university in the state of Punjab, sir. The iconic Punjab University happens to be in category 2. And our admissions stand much higher than any other university. So then we started the new departments. We restructured the whole department in such a manner that there was industry partner into it. There was employer, which is part of the board of studies. Without the industry partner and the employer, we would not pass any syllabus. So most of the syllabus were transformed from more of theoretical syllabi to more of a practical syllabi, as desired by the employer and the industry, which were added into the board of studies. Then we started with new departments, which were the ones like data analytics is one of them, agriculture is another one, where lots of people were attracted towards this department. This is the only university in North India in which we have had 34% increase in admission in last 3 years, and that is how we made the money. This is the primary aim we did. Then most of our construction, most of our maintenance, we had to get funds from either central funding agencies, or we had to go to one of the CSR funds of the various industries, or the Illumini to get all the funds. So this is what basically I could understand was that Vice Chancellor basically primarily is a manager of funds. That's first, if you had the funds, then anything else will happen. Otherwise, if you don't have the funds, you may have one of the best universities, it's still going to function, it's not going to function. Then the most important thing was the perception of university. If they do not increase the perception of university, the things are going to be quite bad for the university. And then we went in for accreditations, we went for category 1, we went for we gradually crawled up from a 200 position in NERF to 51 position last year. So that is how the things started improving. The kind of a perception in the general public went on decreasing. Yes, we use it in basic way. See, education these days is not a service, it's a selling commodity. You have to sell your university, you have to sell your colleges. If you don't sell your college and your university, you do not tend to rise gradually, and your colleges and universities die down. So we had used social media in a big way. We went in for a very overall of the PR department. We presented our facts in a proper manner. All these things, when they happened, are gradually our ranking went on increasing, and our perception general public also went on increasing. Next came the students. How do you actually look at the students? How do you feel them? Are they our subordinates, or are they the ones who are getting something from us? No, we are the ones who are getting everything from students. So what if they are students? They are professors. There is a vice chancellor. Otherwise, there's no need. They are the primary stakeholders. So we made an open office in the university, and any student can walk into the vice chancellor's office without seeking an appointment, and he can wait his turn, but he can give his viewpoints on how to go about improving the university. This is how we started every day afternoon. For the last 3 years, 3 hours are reserved for a student. Even today it was reserved. I just missed on today. It was reserved for students. We get them in batches of about 40, 50. Listen to them, talk to them, and listen about the personal views, listen about how they want the improvement of universities, and encourage them. That's how our connection with the students increased. Now we have 15,000 students in the campus today. I don't think there's a single student who does not know me personally and who has not met me personally. So this is the kind of connection we created. That did a very big thing. So then the students came up with the idea that if studies is one part of it, you can go on studying, you can cram, you can still pass examination. What about cultural activities? What about about our connection with the society? Then we came in for 7 clubs, and these clubs we did the Go Green Club, the Fitness Club, the Literary Club, the Science Club, and all those things. And all the students gradually, invariably 90% of them became members of various clubs. This was the one which changed the whole perception of the university. So when we talk of good governance means you have to get off your high horse, has to go to a level of the students, talk to them to the level of the students. Otherwise, if you think that you are the bosses, this thing is not going to happen. Then I tell you another very interesting fact, sir. One day a boy was playing, there's another anecdote, sir. There's the one playing a guitar, and he was playing alone, and he was playing it beautifully. So I asked him, why are you playing a guitar alone? He says, I don't have place to play a guitar. Though we have auditoria inside, but they are not open every day. So we made an amphitheater in the most crowded place at the university. And every Wednesday, about 2,000 students get on there, that amphitheater, sit together, run the show themselves. And the starts at 6, finishes at 10, sharp at 10. And it's an open house. It's a kind of a thing that they can talk against the vice chancellor, they can talk against the administration, they can give suggestions, but invariably, I tell you, if you connect with students, none of them are vicious. They're on the whole very good people. So I sit there on Wednesdays also for an hour or so with them, and they invariably, it's the most rewarding time of the day when I sit with those people. That's how we started. Then we may try to find out, because I'm just taking as a case study. So I would like suggestions from you how to go about better to make it a little better. Then, in Delhi, when we were there, we were very much concerned during Diwali time that there was lots of pollution. Though I was staying in one of the good areas in Delhi, in Chanakya, still you could not breathe on those days. So I thought when I come to Amritsar, it's a small city, it would be better, kind of atmosphere, better air quality. But unfortunately, when we checked it on our monitors, it turned out to be in the orange zone. Then we started putting on display, we put two display boards there. We started putting the data every day for the students to see that you are in the audience. Then telling them that this is how you're going to kill your lungs. Your lungs are going to get all charcoal black. So kindly do something. So we have banned the vehicles. I think most IITs have also done it. And we have banned the vehicles, four-wheelers inside the campus. There are two big parking lots at both ends of the university where they parked and they walked up. So initially we started the cycling project, which unfortunately, as the things go about it, people in Punjab, they are very particular about their, Professor Agrawal would know it, they think that getting on a cycle is getting to a lower level. So somehow that didn't work, it failed. So then again, we thought that how could we, now we have golf carts, 14-seater golf carts running in the university where they get hop off, hop on, wherever they want to without charging a single rupee. Now in the whole campus itself, people either walk or they use these vehicles. Yes, teachers have not put so far this condition because teachers, we still allow the cars and four-wheelers to come into the campus. So this is some subtle things which did a lot of things. Then we thought that how would we make them more aware of a good living, the students. So that was one more thing which stuck me always. So first thing we changed, the hostels are not the rooms. We changed their messes, we changed their washrooms. And mind you, the washrooms in my university are as good as the Delhi airport. They are exactly in the same manner as it is in Delhi airport. If you don't tell the students how to live a good life, they normally do not know what is good. So that is that. And gradually, initially, yes, we did have problems because those shutters which were there, they were not properly shut. They would, but mind you, in a year, they were sensitized enough that washrooms are, as now the whole campus is, we are changing them to one of the best. So this is how things have gradually improved. We made it a zero discharge campus. We upgraded the botanical garden. We make the way the walking track there. So let it be something that people can go around and they be happy that they're part of this university. Then I found out one particular day that lots of boys and girls are walking outside towards the thing and asking that. I asked them, "Where are you going?" They said, "We're going to gym." Then we followed Mahe. If anybody has gone to Mahe in Mani, and there's gym that is probably the best gym you have in the country. Then we followed them up. We made the gym, which is probably the best in any public university in the country. We earn money out of it. We don't give it free. It helps in our maintenance, but it also is a kind of safety which provided to the students. That is how the graduate things went on going. So then we started asking them how could you go about improving your IT. And we started with, we are the first university again to start with e-office. Technically, we are going to make it a paperless university in a very short time. We already started it, again saving lots of money in that. So ultimately, again, boils down to finances. As the finances, are there, as you get to go about it, you do well. Professor Agrawal talked about autonomy, and he was very rightly pointed out either we have sacrificed autonomy or there is stage for us. It's a $1 million question. But I tell you one thing, sir, and what we did when we did selection of lecturers, assistant professors here and the associate professors, they put cameras with recording. Whenever the person is waiting for an interaction, everything is got put in public domain. We have no cases, and there's no resentment. And when you get it, not that I don't get political push and pulls, but when you tell them that it's going to get recorded and it will put in public domain, 99% of politicians do not even talk to you second time. So this is innovation. This is how the things have happened. This is how the things have changed. Regarding the restructuring of universities, sir, in my opinion, making a multidisciplinary universities and this, it's going to be lots and lots of finance and lots of funds and lots of time. I still remember when we started CBCS, Madam Mittal and myself, we really worked on that. The CBCS system was introduced in a very, and Professor Furqan Kamra was part of it, and still, can you beat it? Not all Delhi colleges have a CBCS system. Not all courses in my college universities have CBCS system. It's taken such a long time, 4 years, 5 years, to really and go about making change. Higher education is like aircraft carrier. So you can't change it 100. It's not a speedboat. You can't change 180 degrees. You have to gradually shift 10 degrees, 5 degrees, and then gradually you end up with the good thing. So this NEP on the whole has given us a structure how to go about it. But on the whole, I think It's going to take lots of financing, lots of effort on the part of the vice chancellors and the people who are the academic administrators to make a change over the period of next 10, 15, 20 years. It's not going to happen immediately. That's my point. Regarding the verticals, sir, you were very rightly pointed out regarding the verticals. I still remember that I have a little bit of reservations, sir, on that, which I should not be speaking on this occasion, but I do have a reservation, sir. The only, you can say, a danda we had in a hand to ensure the university follows the regulations of the University Grants Commission was the finances. If the finances are dislinked, they are de-linked from regulation, who are going to agree to your regulations? It's going to be $1 million question, sir, because unless until you people have something, if you give them a penal powers to Heki, or you will see that another problem will start. So there has to be, still have to fine tune the whole method. It can't be that you just take 4 verticals and finish with it and say that that's done. That is a good thing. Yes, you're delinking accreditation and finances and regulation has to be done, but there has to be some congruence in the whole thing. That's the kind of that does not come. Already UGC is primarily, the act of UGC is not bad on the whole, but it is toothless. Lots of times this have been, we could not penalize the university. We cannot force a regulation. We can only request. I hope that when this Heki comes up, it is not toothless as UGC is. So this is one of the questions which I always, because I work in UGC for 3.5 long years, I've seen that you have to have something in your hand to force the people to follow the rules and regulations of government of I think that's just a case study, sir, how we went about it, how we did the things. So there's some good points, some bad points. I lost on some, gained on some, but on the whole, and the end of the day, sir, we could bring the university to level that it is ranked as top in North India, and we are one of the 10 universities funded by RUSA, being the top 10 state public universities for 100 crores. So that means our ranking over the time in state public universities has gone up. Yes, there is a big dearth of good academic administrators. They did start the program training them, people with 10 years of experience, and they were sent for training to various universities abroad and IITs and TES and whatnot and central universities. But sir, it is the fire in you which actually brings the change. It's not that you can't train a person. Training may help 10%, 5%. The fire has to be there to make a change. And I think that the first and foremost which AIU should put, and Madam is very particular about it, that we should put a kind of recommendation that the selection committee of vice chancellor should be very much above board, and the person only with the fire in the belly should be the ones selected as vice chancellors. Not it is a person may be very good in academics, he may write good papers, but he may still be not a good administrator. So this aspect has to be looked into. Unless you get good academic administrators, I don't think subsequent university system in the country is going to go for a sea change. Yes, if they are good on the whole, then gradually you can think for better things. Yes, checks and balances have to be done by various agencies of which we are going to create the 4 verticals. But on the whole, sir, it is the vice chancellor leader which has to take the person ahead, but he has to get off the high horse. He has to be a CEO. He cannot be vice chancellor anymore. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sandhu, for very nice observations and case study of your university. I think the highlights, first is proper choice of a vice chancellor is $1 million question. And I think, but one day we'll have to face it, because I agree, and I think everybody will agree, unless you have a leadership in the vice chancellor, no amount of regulations or policies will be able to make the university give that advantage. And we have to work seriously on that direction. Second thing which you may have emphasized, in addition to the very innovative steps you have taken, is that the vice chancellor has to be first amongst equals. I think that's again where we have lost. I'm sorry to say, even amongst our own professors, some of them, when they become vice chancellors, they become administrators like DCs and SPs. Now that's I've been telling many of them, first of all, you plead that only professors should be vice chancellors, and then you start behaving like non-professors. So that is not an academic leadership of the university. So I fully agree, and I think many of us will agree and will work in that direction. Thank you very much. And I next invite Professor Furqan Kamal, an excellent friend at a personal level and very eminent career in being vice chancellor of a couple of universities and steering AIU just before Dr. Pankaj Mittal had taken over for 5 years. And personally, I'm aware of many initiatives taken therein. So I'll request Professor Furqan Kamal to make his observations, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Congratulations to you, Dr. Mittal, and the president of the AIU for continuing the conferences of the Vice Chancellor despite all the constraints of the COVID that we presently have. And I am aware that these zonal meets of the Vice Chancellors are major milestones because the AIU can lead only when it has knowledge of what is happening at the grassroots levels. So these zonal meets and the national meets are that source which equip AIU with the necessary information. So congratulations to you, Dr. Mittal, and to your whole team for carrying it forward. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and asking me to speak in this very important session, particularly the one which is being chaired by Professor Agrawal and co-panelists like Vice Chancellor of a premier university, and then Professor Sandhu, a good friend, and who has been Secretary of the University Grants Commission. There are just a couple of things that I want to mention here in the 10 minutes time that I have at my disposal. So one change that I'm seeing in the higher education sector is that there is no resistance to change. Like when Professor Sandhu was speaking, he started by saying that the university gets, even though it's a public funded state university, it gets 10% of what it needs and what its budget is. And even then, he has embraced changes and has been able to carry forward not only what has been going on, but has also been able to take decisions. Similarly, a couple of, last week I was at Lucknow University and it was the same story which the Vice Chancellor shared. Just 35 crores out of more than 400 crores of budget he is getting from the state government, but then the lack of the funds has in no way deterred the Vice Chancellor from taking initiative. Similarly, a number of new initiatives have been proposed by the National Education Policy and so on. So I see an overall environment and a climate where people are reconciled to the idea that the changes which are being suggested from above are to be accepted and to be implemented, and there is no resistance to all. It means if the national education policy somehow is not implemented fully and in totality, that will not be because of the resistance from the leadership of the academic institutions or from the faculty, etc. So there is a total environment of acceptability. Higher education, I have been saying, has been subject to a number of uncertainties. And one of the most recent uncertainties that has been introduced in the system is, I'm not mentioning about COVID because COVID is a different kind of uncertainty, is the uncertainty caused by the policy changes that are going to take place. And my feeling is that the longer it takes to implement those changes that have become a kind of law of the land or a policy, the system is likely to remain uncertain. So say, for example, at the institutional level, and I'm talking about the university level, the national education policy has prescribed that now the academic institutions will be classified into 3 categories: the research universities, teaching universities, and autonomous higher educational institutions. Now, this definition of these 3 universities and the benchmark and the criteria for classifying these institutions should become known to all higher education institutions as soon as it can be. Otherwise, the system would continue to languish. The second institutional change that policy talks about, and which to my mind has been a need and requirement for almost past 100 years. But this time the education policy has taken the plunge to take that decision. And this is about the affiliation system. Right from the very beginning, and we know that in India, the college system is older than the university system. Colleges came into existence first, followed by universities. And immediately after the establishment of universities, many different commissions and committees have been talking about that this affiliation system is not a good system of providing higher education. For example, Radhakrishnan Commission went into this detail, and this also said that this affiliation system is a burden on the university and the quality is also not there. And most critically, the affiliation system as such impinges on the autonomy of the higher educational institution, which Professor Agrawal has been talking about. So like colleges have power to teach, to organize teaching, but they do not have power to evaluate their students. It's assumed that perhaps they are not capable or competent of. So people have been talking about, but every time, every committee, after having detailed discussion, they reached to the conclusion that it may not be possible to do away with colleges. And therefore they must continue. Over the past 15, 16 years, a number of changes were brought in, like, okay, we can't do away with colleges, but we can reduce the number of colleges which are affiliated to a university, and to a large extent, UGC and the other institutions have been successful in this regard. So bulk of the universities today have about 100 colleges. But now the National Education Policy has taken the decision that there shall not be this system of providing higher education. Now there are 2 uncertainties that have been brought in, and I think the higher education system need to be ready to brace for this. One, are these colleges ready and equipped to take the role to become independent, autonomous higher educational institutions, to engage in teaching, to do the evaluation, and to award degrees? And the second uncertainty, that for many universities, these affiliated colleges have been the source of the major revenue. When you find that out of a budget of 400 crores, you get only 40 crores from the state government, the question is that from where this 350 crore was coming. And this was coming from the self-financing courses, but majorly they were coming as affiliation fees, examination fees, and various kinds of penalties imposed on the colleges. So when these colleges are severed from the universities, what will happen to the budgets of the universities and how will they survive and manage? And I think the universities need to think about them. So the criteria for classifying universities and readiness to see the effect of this change in the affiliation system and being ready to run their house in such a manner that the essential purpose of the universities are continued. The third thing is about a number of restructuring, fundamental restructuring that the policy has suggested at the level of the programs and in terms of the size of the institutions. So the policy is about increasing the size of the institutions. The policy is about making all higher educational institutions multidisciplinary. The policy is about making all the programs modular and the other things. All of these are excellent ideas, very good ideas, but they will all cost money. For example, these things cannot be steered, or these policy changes cannot be steered on the basis of the guest part-time kind of teachers. You require full-time faculty, and somehow that has been one sticky issue, that on an average 45 to 50% of the faculty positions across all higher educational institutions have continued to remain vacant despite all these communication. And one of the major reasons is that even when the regulators say that fill up all faculty positions, the financial positions on the ground is such that the universities themselves find it difficult to meet the expenses if they fill up all faculty positions. I think this issue needs to be addressed very, very seriously. Lastly, since I have only 10 minutes, there are a number of structural changes which Professor Agrawal has so ably highlighted at the regulatory level. That instead of multiplicity of the regulatory agencies, one regulatory bodies. But we have already made an exception that health education would be away from this commission. And within health education, we thought that the Medical Commission of India would take care of all health education. But now we know that there is a separate commission for Ayush, separate commission for homeopathy, separate commission for nursing. All of these are coming in. And therefore, that is making people ask this question, that if in medical education you need separate regulatory bodies for the allied disciplines, can a single regulator be sufficient for higher education, which is so diverse? And earlier people were reconciled to this idea, but now they are asking these questions. But anyway, so health education is away. Law education is separate from the health education. So the whole idea of a single regulatory bodies is not going to happen. It means the existing troubles that the universities had, that if it's a multidisciplinary university, you have faculty of law, you have medical sciences, and you have 2-3 branches of the medical sciences, then you will continue to be getting separate regulators knocking at your door, and you would be required to meet their requirements. Finally, one major change that has been suggested is that the benchmarking and the accreditation is moving away from the two government-owned autonomous bodies, government-owned independent societies, to multidisciplinary agencies. I think we will have to be extremely careful about ensuring that these regulatory bodies for accreditation which comes up, their credibility is in no way dented. This is one. And the second issue that I would like to highlight is that accreditation is not only for benchmarking, but it is also a huge business. Even the two governmental agencies which are into the accreditation today, they make huge sums of money by way of fees of accreditation that they charge. And I think this is one motivation for many of the private organizations wanting to enter into the accreditation business. Presently, the system is all governmental owned, so no individual stands to benefit. But in fact, the possibility of individuals maximizing their profit through accreditation business would go a big way. And in fact, though the education shall continue to remain in not-for-profit activities, but many educational allied activities would in fact become the profit-making. So I think one responsibility that will come on the National Accreditation Council, which is going to be the umbrella body, is to see that the benchmark for the entry of such accrediting agencies are very strict. The framework for the accreditation is very transparent and objective, and the profit motives must be determined, and therefore they should be able to cover only the cost of accreditation by way of fees that they charge from the institution. Ultimately, otherwise, what will happen is that institutions do not have money of their own. Whatever they pay to any institution, that is all passed on to the students. So the more costs you add, the more education is going to be expensive, and this will be very, very harmful as far as the equity and social justice in higher education is concerned. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I only indicated what I thought was necessary. Given the time, I'll be very willing to share some more ideas. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Professor Furqan Kama, for very incisive remarks. You have all the knowledge and data, and have been writing on various subjects, so have an in-depth grip of the things. So made very, very important points. But the most optimistic point is that there's less resistance to change now. Otherwise, academic world has been known for resistant to change. For whatever reason, it's a positive thing that there's less resistance to change. Reasons may be anything. Uncertainties in system would remain, but you're very right. Uncertainty to be converted into certainty, the only method is to take a decision. Whether the decision is right or wrong, history will tell, but let's take a decision and move forward. Then you raised a very important question on full-time faculty, which is a cost factor, and which has to be provided for. And you're delinking colleges from the universities, thereby starving the universities of funds, is again a very important point, that somewhere it will have to be supported, because we cannot, but personally I feel a bad academic system should give way to system, and we should find finances for this. And as Dr. Sandhu said, that they can find several methods. Affiliation of colleges is one, but then few other things also, thoda karke, which they are doing something. Then next speaker is our eminent colleague, Professor Karparga Kumaravel, officiating Vice Chancellor of University of Tamil Nadu. He is a very senior professor from the field of education. So from medical science, we moved to management, and now we move to education. So that way the panel is a very diversified panel. And I just read that he had contributed a lot of innovative things to the field of education in this country. And Professor Sandhu will agree with me, one course which took the highest beating in this country was B.Ed course. Because, I mean, people made experiments with B.Ed like anything. I was ashamed as an academician of this country when somebody came to me, sir, I have a big bungalow, garage is lying vacant, can I start a B.Ed course? Now, if that was the aspiration of the people for the B.Ed course, and B.Ed course is where we produce teachers for the school education, which really shapes up the personality. So that is, if the shaping up personality is not done, then little precious can be done at higher education level as far as that aspect is concerned. So therefore, B.Ed is a very important course. And I remember I was on a panel discussion maybe 20 years ago or 18 years ago. Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi was also co-panelist when he was education minister. And I made a statement, sir, we are producing B.Ed graduates, but we are not producing teachers. He said, Professor Agarwal, very strong statement. I said, am I wrong, sir? He says, no. So therefore, in that scenario, Professor Kumaravel has innovatively tried to improve the things. So let's hear his views on this important aspect. Welcome, Professor Kumaravel.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible to?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So, good evening, and Professor Agarwal, Professor Jaspal, and Professor Farkun Kumar. It's my pleasure as well as my privilege to associate myself with this program, and I would like to record my appreciation as well as my sincere thanks to the organizers of the Association of Indian Universities for organizing this very relevant program at a right time, and also giving me this opportunity to associate myself with stalwarts and towering personalities like Professor Agarwal, Professor Jaspan Sandhu, and Professor Farkun Kumar. And my presentation will be logical conclusion of what Professor Jaspal Sandhu and Professor Farkun Kumar has already told. And Professor Jaspal Sandhu has rightly pointed out the very key role to be played by the leadership in Indian universities, the vice chancellors. And many cases we find we have trial and error administration by many vice chancellors. Like new teachers learning teaching in the classrooms through trial and error method of teaching. It happens in some universities that some new vice chancellors who are not trained in educational administration, who are not exposed to governance, or who are not well versed in the nuts and bolts of excellence in higher education, excellence in administration, they learn the skill of administration, they learn the art and science of administration, and by the time they complete their learning, the 3-year term is over or the 5-year term is over. So that way, it is very essential that, as Professor Farkun Kumar has rightly pointed out, benchmarking effective governance in higher education is very, very essential. What are the parameters, the criteria with which
we lost Professor Kumaravel.
He is there, but we are not able to see him. Maybe some connection issue.
Cannot hear him. I think he just got disconnected.
We can ask Professor Sandhu, what does he do when something like this happens in his university? Sir, Sandhu sir, we are saying we should ask Professor Sandhu, what does he do when something like this happens in his university?
See, in my own house, the net doesn't work. So we are now laying up new cables. It will work subsequently, but most of the students, we tell them, you buy a dongle, run their own show. That's a better option than going for that.
But is he working from AIU? He had joined from AIU only?
Yes, I think he joined from AIU from the guest house.
Then maybe some other point in AIU, because we can see you, and
I think he will join shortly.
In
the meantime, Professor Sandhu, many people are asking that if you are saying 10% you get from the government, then how do you mobilize the rest of it?
See, we are the charging the maximum fees among all universities in North India. This is one. But we had to sell it. We had to sell it. The quality has to be so good.
Sir, fee constitutes what percentage of your revenue?
Pardon?
Fee constitutes what percentage?
About 30% of it.
30.
And then my dear friend Professor Furqan Kamar was very right in saying that this affiliated colleges give us the money, so once they get out, we are done with. so that's why I didn't bring it up, but he was right. So we have about 3.5 lakh students. They contribute some part of it to the university kitty, but we get lots of funds from CSR otherwise. See, what we have done is that we limited our expenses to the bare running of the university. Most of the development in the university, you come over and see the university, but you will find it's entirely different. President Dr. Subramanian, Mr. Subramanian came, Secretary MHRD was stunned to see the way. But the only thing is that funding is not for development. We don't use the university funds. We are using the funds from CSR. So then you had to have connection with the industry. You had to mobilize them. You had to request them. You had to beg of them. Actually, all vice chancellors, they become. When you are secretary UTC, you are a giver. When you are vice chancellor, you are a beggar. So that's the only difference.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I think we have Professor Marawala back. No?
Yes.
Yeah, please continue.
He is doing screen sharing.
Yeah.
So can I continue my presentation, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, please continue.
So my presentation will focus on benchmarking effective government education. The new education policy 2020 envisions funding of higher education based on performance and accountability. Effective governance that enables the culture of excellence in higher education is the foremost recommendation. So it is in the backdrop of the recommendation of the new education policy 2020, linking funding of higher education with performance and accountability. I am making a presentation. So benchmarking is a systematic process of measuring the university's output against the recognized best in the higher education sector. And Evans 2013 defines benchmarking as measuring own performance against best-in-class institutions to determine how they achieve their performance levels and use the knowledge to improve own performance. Klein 2014, benchmarking is an excellent tool to use in order to identify a performance goal. And the benefits of benchmarking: number one, it helps universities and colleges to understand their own strengths and weaknesses, their relative standing, where they are, and how far they have to go further. And it helps better satisfy the students' needs by establishing new standards and new goals. And benchmarking motivates faculty to reach new standards and to be keen on new developments. It allows universities to realize what levels of performance is really possible by looking at others. And benchmarking documents reasons as to why differences in institutional effectiveness exist. Why some universities are most effective, some universities are not that much effective. why some colleges have got A++ grade and some other colleges have not that much successful. So all these things, the differentiating factors, the critical factors which differentiate an effective institution from an ineffective institution can be known by benchmarking, and it helps universities improve their competitive advantage. And benchmarking is a cost-effective and time-efficient way of establishing a pool of innovative ideas. So we have to ask 4 questions. What should we benchmark? Whom should we benchmark? How do we perform the process? And how do they perform the process? And the benchmarking process has 2 stages. First one is benchmarking standards we have to lay down in terms of how much of gap is there, where is the gap, and when does the gap come in, and what is the commitment of the university, how it communicates and resolves that issue, and how faculty participate and resolve to reduce the gap. So that way, how to close the gap between the expected output and the actual output in terms of improvement in knowledge, improvement in practices, and improvement in process. So the benchmarking process has 5 stages. Decide what to benchmark. Identify the benchmarking partners. Gather information. Analyze and implement. Adapt, improve. So many countries, cross-cultural comparison and inter-country comparisons show that many countries share common concerns about the performance of their higher education systems and would like to learn how well their systems are performing in comparison to others. Cross-country comparisons through the international benchmarking of different higher education systems will enable countries to learn more about their strength and weakness, to provide a laboratory for others by identifying what works in higher education in their context. Benchmarking higher education system performance will contribute towards improvement across different higher education systems. So benchmarking dimensions, we have 5 dimensions in terms of the context, in terms of resources, in terms of education, in terms of research, and in terms of engagement. So when we go to the conceptual framework of governance, governance means the systems and procedures of oversight implemented by the higher education authority with regard to the individual higher education institutions and to the collective system of higher education. The objective of such oversight is to ensure that higher education institutions and the system collectively meet the outcomes expected effectively as well as efficiently. So when we go to the pillars of higher education, the higher education authority operates in a multi-stakeholder environment with number 1, the Ministry of Education, number 2, the higher education institutions, number 3, the academic and financial auditing agencies as the core pillars within the framework. So we have the multiple roles and responsibilities of the main actors of excellence in education. The Ministry of Education sets policy, identifies objectives and outcomes, and it determines funding. The Higher Education Authority, like UGC, oversees compliance with governance requirements, ensures accountability for funding, works with the higher education institutions to resolve governance issues. The higher education institutions, like universities and colleges, with their institutional autonomy, with their governing body responsibility, like Executive Council, Syndicate, Academic Council, Board of Studies, and so many statutory bodies, they realize the institutional objectives as well as the national objectives. And ultimately, the financial discipline is ensured by the Comptroller and Auditor General in terms of the system of external controls and accountability for public funding. So we have the 5 stakeholders: higher education institution employees, higher education institutions, higher education authority, Ministry of Education, Controller and Audit General, and the way in which they interact with each other, the symbiotic, the complementary and supplementary role, the interaction between them, the communication between them, to what extent each gets feedback and to what extent they modify themselves, fine-tune themselves on the basis of the feedback, on the basis of the extent of realization of objectives. So that decides the excellence in the governance system of higher education. And it is very essential to look at the dramatic changes in education over the recent decades. We see expansion of tertiary education systems. In 1991, the students' population was just 68 million. In 2004, it got almost doubled, I should say. 132 million students enrolled in tertiary education. Participation rates in tertiary education has become the benchmark. Then we have the diversification of provision. New institution types have emerged. Educational offerings within the institutions have multiplied, and private players, private provision has expanded. New modes of delivery have emerged, more flexible ways of provision, distance learning, e-learning, mobile learning, all these things have developed. And more heterogeneous student bodies. Female participation has increased, more number of mature students. Student bodies are also heterogeneous in terms of socio-economic background, in terms of diversity in ethnicity, and in terms of previous entry behavior. The growing internationalization of higher education, the increasing applications of Web 2 technologies and social media are leveraging knowledge production. All these things have implications, tremendous implications in ensuring quality governance in higher education. And we have an additional factor. We talk about establishment of world-class universities in India and the critical governance features which are identified to establish world-class universities. See, we talk about national ranking, international ranking, which have added to the pressure on university governance. And we have NAAC assessment and accreditation, and we have tripartite evaluation. In central universities, they undergo quarterly assessment and accreditation every 3 months. We have to submit on the basis of the MOU we signed between UGC, Ministry of Education, and the central universities like Central University of Tamil Nadu. So we have to report every 3 months to what extent we have attained the benchmarks in identified parameters, some 21 parameters. And then autonomy that allows institutions to manage their resources capably and to quickly respond to the demands of a rapidly changing global market, which is essential, even though it is alone not sufficient to establish and maintain world-class universities. Other crucial governance features are needed, such as inspiring leadership, persistent leadership, a strong strategic vision, a visionary leadership with institutional direction, leadership with a philosophy of success, a philosophy of excellence, and a culture of constant reflection, organizational learning, and organizational change. And last but not the least, we have accountability. Autonomy and accountability are the two sides of the coin of governance. Accountability is the demonstration of value for money, taxpayers' money, paupers' money, poor man's money. So it is very essential that institutions ensure social accountability, ensures responsible and relevant activities undertaken with the taxpayers' money. greater transparency and public accountability, guaranteeing academic quality and academic standards, ensuring equitable student admission procedures, which are transparent, and accessibility for students from poor families, reaching the unreached, from the have-nots, downtrodden, and ensuring an appropriate use of public funds within institutions with internal efficiency are a few benchmarks. Accountability can be ensured through various means, including quality assurance frameworks, performance-related funding, and participation of stakeholders in governance bodies, quality teaching, participation of student bodies, new students, the what we call as digital migrants. We senior teachers are digital migrant category, but the emerging students are digital natives. The digital natives call for new digital methodologies, and it is essential that we teachers have to tune ourselves, cope up ourselves to the changing styles of the emerging netizens of 21st century. The governments, the students, their families, parents, employers, fund providers increasingly demand value for their money and desire more efficiency through teaching. So outcome indicators which are very essential as benchmarks: alumni satisfaction, student satisfaction, community satisfaction, annual income from parents, distribution of enrollment, state-wise diversity, international students, presence of formal ties to industry, job placement rate of students in occupational vocational programs, number of patents per faculty, and benchmark criteria for social relevance. What are the mechanisms within the university? Is there any mechanism in the university to establish a consensus on strategic priorities for regional development? Is there any mechanism in the university to link existing regional activities and add social values to them? Is there any mechanism existing within the university to balance its different geographical roles and create synergy between them? What mechanisms exist within the university to consider social issues such as health, culture, economy, community regeneration in a joined-up way? What mechanisms are established to bring together those involved in social development process, such as government agencies and community groups, so that they can prioritize which regional needs should be addressed? So continuous governance development model has to be there in every institution, starting with vision as a base, followed by guiding principles, setting qualification standards and learning goals with standard curriculum and standard learning activities, followed by standard assessment procedures, excellence in monitoring and recording, and ultimately it leads to effective governance, accreditation, evaluation, and engagement. So my concluding observation is that we cannot be mere consumers of good governance. We must be participants and we must be co-creators. Thank
you. Thank you, Professor Kumarbil, for a very exhaustive presentation on benchmarking in particular, because you obviously need something to look forward to, and that's what you projected. I also like your concept of continuous governance models, because it has to continue changing, and therefore things have to be adaptive. Your starting phrase about trial and error vice chancellors was interesting. I think while I fully endorse your spirit, but I think trial will be necessary even if you can make errors once a while, but it should not be trial and error repeatedly. So as they say that if you can make same mistake twice, that's dangerous. But if you can think of new mistakes by new initiatives, that's perfectly fine. So with these words, I think we almost listened to everybody. Now, if there are any questions from anybody, we can take some 10 minutes. Professor Farzan Mustafa has, yeah. Unmute yourself, please. Professor Farzan, Professor Farzan, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, thank you so much for summing up in a perfect way in few sentences. Gagar mein sagar bhar diya aapne, Chairman, sir. I entirely agree with you that in a country of our size and the number of universities we have, we can't be riding on old horses all the time. We need to make mistakes and we need to give chance to other people. I'm in entire agreement. But one issue of governance I want to raise here, and I would request Dr. Pankaj Mittal to put it before GC, that for the Association of Indian Universities, when it comes to president and vice president, then even if there is a break in somebody's tenure as VC, but there are people who had a break of 10 years or a break of 2 years, still that break is not counted. I think for preparing All India seniority, we need to look at the continuous service as a vice chancellor. Once somebody has a break, he goes out of net. Then after 2 years, 3 years, if he again becomes vice chancellor, he has to start afresh. And when this GC rule was made initially, we had very, very small number of universities. And many people working in public universities, were not finding time to devote to AIU activities. Now AIU is dominated by about 300 private universities. We have over 800 universities, 700 plus our members. So Professor Furqan is also here. I think that this rule requires a review by the GC, so that because you have people who have put in more than 10 years continuous uninterrupted service, just because someone was a VC a decade ago, you can't be giving a seniority to him today.
Okay, I leave that for Dr. Pankaj Mittal and the member vice chancellors to debate about. I'm not a vice chancellor at the moment, so I don't even have a voting right on the subject.
But Dr. Saab, if time permits, Faizan Saab, I did follow.
Professor Furqan Kamar wants to come in to respond to some of the things.
Faizan Saab, perhaps I did not follow your question. You are saying that if there is a break, then the seniority should not be counted, because if I remember correctly, the rule is that every time a person has been vice chancellor of a member university, even though intermittently there have been gaps, so irrespective of the gap, the seniority is counted.
I think that is wrong, sir.
Achha, okay.
So I'm saying if there is a gap, you go out of the net.
No, that's
so
his.
You want that? Okay.
Professor Furqan, there is a question in the chat box for you. I don't think it really is understood properly. It says the question is to Professor Kamar. He said a single higher education commission cannot handle approval of multiple disciplines. What is his suggestion?
No, in fact, this question was from Mr. Nagaraj Ramarao, and I think I also responded to him in the chat box. I did not say that the single regulator would not work. What I said was that many commissions and committees have been arguing for a single regulator because multiplicity of the regulatory agencies have been creating problem. But first, health and law have been separated, and within health, there have been separate commission for various kinds of health education on the ground that a specific type of health education cannot be handled by a common health commission. That is making people ask this question that higher education is also very diverse. So the point I said was that this is what is happening, that on the one hand, we talk about a single regulator, but we have created multiplicity in the health sector. If we have created multiplicity in the health sector, then this whole argument for higher education becomes some kind of a questionable argument. So that is the point that I mentioned, but I am not in favor of multiple regulators.
Yeah.
If time permits, can I ask you one question?
Yeah, sure. Please come in.
Sir, this in the governance, most of the universities, I feel that are highly vice chancellor centric. Even pro vice chancellors has no specific roles. So how far our decentralization and delegation will be effective in governance?
Who would like to take it up?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
I think your question is valid.
On governance.
Yeah, but it will be the example which you have given, vice chancellor centric. Yes, university system is vice chancellor centric system, and I think it will remain so. But that does not mean delegation is not possible, not desirable, not done. There are several cases of vice chancellors where effective delegation has been done for quite well. For that matter, if I want to take a name, Delhi University, for example, I think pro vice chancellor has more workload than the vice chancellor. This is what I have found while making a study. So it will depend upon university to university, but I think there is nothing wrong in vice chancellor being the central pivot of a university, because unless you own the university, you really cannot deliver to the extent one can. Professor Sandhu just gave a case study of his university. Unless he starts believing that this university is mine, this may be good or bad, but then you cannot deliver out of the box till you have that feeling. But that still does not mean that you cannot delegate, you will not delegate, you will not decentralize. So that will be for the vice chancellor to devise a system how it can be done. I don't think a central legislation on this will be good enough, because we do not even have a central legislation on whether to have a PBC or not. There are universities which don't have a PBC. There are universities which have multiple PBCs. There are universities which can have multiple registrars. So so one hand we want autonomy. So I think let each vice chancellor decide how to decentralize in the best interest of the university. That might take, but anybody else wants to comment? Professor Mustafa wants to say something.
Sir, I just want to take forward what Professor Furqan Kamal was saying. I think under some mistaken belief, legal education is not proposed to be included in the proposed Higher Education Commission. Now, as per the Advocates Act, Bar Council of India has a very limited window. It can regulate only registration of advocates to practice. Therefore, what should come under Bar Council of India's jurisdiction is only professional legal education, not LLM or PhD or higher education as such. I think the proposed Higher Education Commission should certainly have a vertical on law as well, so that we can have a centralized uniform policy making for entire higher education. And I would also like to say that many people are confused as if BCI is like Medical Commission or erstwhile Medical Council of India. The appropriate comparison of BCI would be with the IMA, Indian Medical Association. It is a body of professional lawyers. It is not a regulator. The regulator of the legal education ideally should be UGC, or a legal education commission should come in, or a vertical in the new commission. And as far as governance, the earlier point we were discussing, many vice chancellors, sir, are hesitant in trusting their pro vice chancellor, because in one case I had to argue in Allahabad High Court where the pro vice chancellor had become anti vice chancellor and he was removed. Then he challenged the removal in the High Court. So I had just jokingly written in the reply on behalf of the vice chancellor that he has become anti vice chancellor, and the judge ignored all other points, and he said, your post is PVC, you have to be pro vice chancellor. How come you have become anti vice chancellor? So that is a kind of experience.
When if you're leaving pro vice chancellor as an empty person, so he get a lot of time to act against vice chancellor.
Right.
So better to give some of the designations, or some of the things can be transferred.
Actually,
so I used to do what I used to do. Other than the mandatory committee by the University Grant Commission, all other committees are chaired by pro vice chancellor.
Okay, good. Professor Sadhu wanted to say something.
Mr. Chair,
Sir, Dr. Mustafa was very clear about the BCI, but I'm also Vice Chancellor of a law university, sir, dual charge, unfortunately, which I don't want to be, but I am. They started a new state law university near my place, sir, so I'm Vice Chancellor of that university also. Sir, I went to BCI, sir. You cannot run a course. You are right, they are the only registering body. But what actually is happening, sir, that they want, you cannot start a course for next 3 years in law unless you seek permission of BCI. You know, LLM was never under BCI because they were registering, they were only talking. Now they put LLM also under it, sir. That is the state of, see, same is happening with SPS. Despite the fact these both are registering bodies, but they're technically acting as regulating bodies. Unless they are put in their place, this is going to continue as multi councils and multi problems which we are having. They're still going to continue. SPA does the same and BCI does the same.
I would agree with Professor Sandhu. This is not only with BCI. This is Architecture Council says the same thing. They are meant for only registering the architects, but they are entering into architecture education. Pharmacy Council does the same thing. So right perspective is what Professor Mustafa is saying, but how to put the right perspective in right practice, that's a big question. But the national policy of education clearly says except for legal and architecture education. Now, I don't know whether under the circumstances, Higher Education Commission of India, which will be incorporated as a part of NPE, will cover legal education or not. That is yet to be seen, because policy clearly says except for legal education and medical education. Well, maybe Dr. Sandhu is a medical professional here and Dr. Mustafa is a legal profession here. Why national policy education framers wanted to keep you out, your domains of education out, is beyond my comprehension. Because if unification is the merit, then unification is the merit.
Correct.
If separation is a merit, then separation is a merit. We must first accept whether unification is the name of the game of the country which will play, or diversification is the name of the game. This mixed kind of thing will not take us anywhere, because between medical and others, say for example, whether pharmacy should belong to medical or non-medical has been a question mark for years together. AICT has been trying to control pharmacy, which is much more akin to medical education. So the biotechnology, will it be called a technology or medical course? So these problems will remain unless we take a real bold step. If we are doing integration, everything is integrated. I think that is what Professor Furqan Qamar said. And I also personally agree with it, without understanding the reason of keeping the legal and medical out of it. But then that is the policy as of now. Any other question?
A couple of things. I think one aspect has also been omitted perhaps somehow in the policy. There are many countries where medical education as such is not regulated. It is the people who come out of the medical schools, they are tested. Now in India, they have also introduced an exit test. So once they have introduced this exit test, so then I think the regulation of the education should be left to the regulatory bodies in higher education. But anyway, the policy did not consider that fit, or there is also no discussion on this issue. On this issue of the governance that Professor Sudhir raised, that the universities have become vice chancellor centric. Actually, technically speaking, if you look at the Act and Statutes of the university, the Act and Statutes of the universities do not provide so. There the powers are vested in the Executive Council and the Academic Council and various other decision-making bodies. although like Professor Faizan Mustafa Saab said, that it so happened that these ECs and the Board of Management and Academic Council, by whatever name they are called, they have become kind of a body which simply stamp what the Vice Chancellor says. So this tells that perhaps the Vice Chancellors have become all the powerful individuals and institutions in the university. But the sad reality is that this is not the case. You will find the Vice Chancellors themselves also very, very vulnerable and subject to accountability and answerability to many other organizations. So I think you need to see things perspective. On a lighter side, addressing to Faizan Saab, there was also a joke around, sir, that there was a delegation of international universities visiting India. So they visited one university and they stayed there on campus for 3 days. On the third day, the Vice Chancellor hosted a dinner. And on the dinner, the Vice Chancellor was introducing the delegation, all the officers of the university, so Dean Student Welfare and Proctor and Dean, so on and so forth. And then he said, he is Professor so-and-so, he is pro-Vice Chancellor. And this international delegation head said, oh, thanks God, you have at least one person in your university who is pro-Vice Chancellor. Because for the last 3 days, we have been meeting people who are all anti-Vice Chancellor. So I think the reality is not black and white. The reality is gray, and that need to be addressed. I think the solution is not UGC or any other regulatory body imposing some more law. The solution lies in strengthening these institutions, the decision-making bodies, and the composition of these bodies within the universities.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We can take 1 or 2 more, or otherwise close the session. Okay, friends, I think there are no further questions. Maybe time factor makes it happen that way. But I must thank all the panelists for very, very interesting session, very interesting observations, very meaningful concepts thrown on the floor of the house. And I would like to thank Geetam University and Association of Indian Universities, Dr. Pankaj Mittal and our team for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this session. It was a great session with great ideas. How much of it is translated, time will tell, but that's what we have debated, what we were supposed to. And I once again thank Professor Jaspal Singh Sadhu, Professor Furkan Kamar, and Professor Karpaga Kumaravil for very, very interesting and meaningful observations. Governance is a continuous question. It will continue to remain. And as I said in the beginning, national policy of education has given us so much flexibility that unless we have decision taking at all levels, this flexibility will not be able to be effectively made use of. And therefore, delegation, decentralization, autonomy will have to be integral parts of implementation of national education policy. Otherwise, who is going to decide which subject student, can it be left 100% fitted to the student? I asked a question other day, a student says, I'll study physics, music, cricket, and history. Now, what degree will we give him? So there will have to be some structure even within the freedom, and freedom cannot be absolute. Structuring should not be very rigid, and we will have to play in between the two. And as a computer science professional, I always give an example of internet. Internet has millions and billions of computers connected to it. Nobody is the owner. Everybody has the same rights to use, but still it is a perfectly disciplined system. You type a comma wrong and it doesn't allow you to move. So freedom coupled with some sort of structure will have to be the name of the game which we'll have to play in governance. With these words, I thank the panelists and all the attendees, and I'm so happy that I started with the number 42 on roll to start with, and it remains 42. Normally, vice chancellors have not been attending the sessions, particularly the last session, but the 42 remains steady. That's a very, very healthy sign of the vice chancellors taking part in constructive debates and taking it forward, because ultimately linchpin of the academic system will continue to be vice chancellor. I have no doubt about it. With this, I once again thank AIU and Geetam University and close this session from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the very interesting, enriching, and insightful session. Ladies and gentlemen, the curtain draws to a close for the first day's deliberations. We will see you tomorrow for the second day session on financing of higher education, followed by valedictory session. Thank you so much for tuning in to AIU's South Zone Vice Chancellors Meet 2021. And thank you for your time. And we shall see you right back here at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.